KDWN.
Good morning, I'm John Schaefer. Nevada Governor Steve Sisolak announced Tuesday he's extending the closure of schools until the end of the school year and is not close to relaxing restrictions that aim to stop the spread of the coronavirus.
Arguing that flattening the curve and that we can immediately lift restrictions in one fell swoop is like arguing that a parachute has slowed our rate of descent so we can take it off now. We cannot take off the parachute.
The governor and state experts said Nevada would need to see at least 2 weeks of consistent drops in the rate of COVID-19 cases and deaths before easing any business closures or stay-at-home rules. The governor did not have a date for when that might occur. Las Vegas Metro Police are investigating a fatal shooting that happened on the valley's west side early this morning. It's believed the shooting happened sometime between 1 and 2 a.m. on Tropicana, west of Fort Apache. One man found dead at the scene. Police are questioning the deceased's girlfriend and a man and woman who were with the victim before the shooting. Metro Police do not believe the victim and the two people knew each other. MGM Resorts acting CEO Bill Hornbuckle said when his company's resorts reopen, they will be operating differently than they did before.
What it means to provide good customer service will change. Everything from how often we clean to how we greet our guests could and will change. Our casino floors will look different, and our restaurants will ultimately be impacted as well.
He did not go into detail on what those changes may entail. Under intense pressure, the Senate has passed another giant coronavirus relief package.
At nearly $500 billion, it's the second biggest of the 4 aid bills passed so far. It would give more than $300 billion to get the small business payroll fund back in business after it ran out of money last week, and also has more money for hospitals and testing. The House is now set to call members back here to Washington for a vote tomorrow.
I urge the House to pass the bill.
The deal between Trump administration negotiators and Congress sets aside roughly $60 billion for smaller banks and community lenders. Amid criticism, much of the first round of money aimed at Main Street shops instead went to bigger businesses with ties to big banks. Sagar Magani, Washington.
Allegiant Airlines will receive $171.9 million in federal emergency relief through the Payroll Support Program created to help stimulate the economy in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. The airline's Las Vegas-based parent company, Allegiant Travel, announced the money provided under the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act will cover approximately 76% of budgeted payroll and benefit costs for its 4,500 workers through September 30th. With a check on our weather, here's News 3's Kelly Curran.
We're looking at lots of sunshine across the area today. Temperatures will be on the rise. We're going to be topping out in the mid and upper 80s this afternoon in the Las Vegas Valley. Keep listening for more updates throughout the day from News 3, your weather authority.
Sunny 72 in Las Vegas. I'm John Schaefer on the new 101.5 FM, 720 AM KDON, Las Vegas' only FM news talk station. With a look at the roads, here's John Michaels.
From the Leonard Road Traffic Studio.
This report sponsored by Upwork. When you need in-demand talent on demand. Watch for slowing for the crash on the 215 Southern Beltway eastbound at Decatur. Merge to the left to get by. Vehicles off to the right. Also an accident now reported in the West Valley 95 southbound south of Lake Mead Boulevard. Expect slowing in the area. And on the surface streets, a crash that was reported on Boulder Highway at Desert Inn Road. That's causing delays. Avoid slowing. Use Nellis or Eastern as an alternate route. Upwork has the world's largest network of independent professionals like designers, developers, data scientists, you name it. When you need in-demand talent on demand, Upwork is how. I'm John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
Get the rest you deserve with Helix Sleep. Helix makes personalized mattresses to fit your unique body type and sleep preferences and give you the best sleep of your life. Go to helixsleep.com and get up to $200 off mattress orders.
SportsX Radio Nation, what's up? It's Ken Thompson, host of SportsX Radio, reminding you to catch me at my new time, 8 to 10 p.m. for all the local Vegas sports coverage, plus the national scene as well. That's SportsX Radio on the new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN.
The opinions of the hosts on KDWN are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or Beasley Media Group.
Hello, everyone. This is President Trump, the greatest president in the history of presidents. And the only show I listen to is the top-rated show, Sharp and Shapiro. They are the best.
Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
Good
Good morning, Las Vegas. What's going on? It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro on a hump day. Today is Wednesday, isn't it? Yes, it is. I don't even know what day it is, what month it is, what year it is. I've lost my mind the last 5 or 6 weeks, but we are broadcasting live from my kitchen table. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We have no other choice. That's why. And we try to give you the best news that we can, the latest live breaking news, you name it. We talk about it here on the show, and a lot of good stuff to get to today. So, as you know, I've been very critical, and I'm not shying away from this opinion, very critical on those who are protesting and not practicing social distance. I have no problem with protesters. It's your First Amendment right to do that. I've never questioned that. But I do question it when you are not practicing social distancing. Well, the woman we have coming up at the bottom of the hour, her name is Pam Bennett, and she was the organizer of the Las Vegas protest here that I've been very critical of. She is also part of the Nevadans Against Extended Quarantine on Facebook, so I'm going to have a lot of questions to get to with her coming up at the bottom of the hour. Coming up in hour number 2, it is Wednesday, so you know what that means. It's time to raise a little hell with liberal talk show host Doug Basham. He's going to be joining us in hour number 2. Always a good debate with him. Last I checked, he's probably not going to be voting for Donald Trump in 2020, but we'll ask him. He's coming up in hour number 2, and obviously this is a show where we want to hear from you, and we want to get your phone calls in as much as we can with our time constraints and depending on what guests we have. We're also going to replay an interview we did in case you missed it. We had Carolyn Goodman on the show Monday, mayor of Las Vegas. She's been criticized for talking about the Strip when that's not really her jurisdiction. She shouldn't be talking about the Strip. But she did, and she answered all of our questions, and it was I think it's fair to say it was at times a heated interview, but she was very opinionated and passionate. So we'll play that interview with Mayor Carolyn Goodman coming up in hour number 3. The big news, particularly here in Las Vegas, well, there's a lot of news throughout the country, and we'll get to that. But the big news here in Las Vegas was that Governor Steve Sisolak held a press conference yesterday. And a lot of people on the right that are against Sisolak for a lot of different reasons like to say he doesn't allow the media in the room. That's not true. He doesn't allow the media to ask questions. It's all scripted. That's not true. He allowed the media, many members of the media, to ask questions, and he answered them. Now, if you're not okay with the way he answered the question, well, that's a different subject. But he did allow and give an opportunity for members of the media here in Las Vegas and up there in Carson City to ask questions. And basically, the gist of the meeting, of the press conference was this. They're in phase 0. They're trying to figure out how they can get to phase 1. There is no exact timetable, which I think is appropriate. I don't think it's appropriate for any governor in any state right now with what's going on to give an exact date, even though there are some governors in other states that are buffoons, in my personal opinion, that are saying, let's open up the nail salons, let's open up, places that will give you a haircut, yet we all should be practicing social distancing. Explain to me how do you do that when somebody's giving you a haircut or somebody's doing your nails? How can you be 6 feet away? What, is Edward Scissorhands cutting everybody's hair? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me at all. I'm glad that Governor Sisolak said what he said yesterday, and he's right. This stuff is working. Social distancing is working, particularly here in the state of Nevada. There's no question it's working. But the worst thing you can do, in my personal opinion, is open things up too early. And I know there's a lot of people out there that put their haircut first or their nails first before people who are dying, before people who are getting sick, and I understand that. And I also understand that there are a lot of local businesses and there's a lot of people that are struggling. I get that too. Trust me, I wish everybody could be back to work. I wish I wasn't in quarantine. And you might say, well, Brian, you have a job. I understand that I have empathy for people. And I understand that there are a lot of people out there that are suffering. And I'm not even talking health-wise. I'm talking financial-wise. I totally get that. But my opinion will not change, and my opinion has not changed. The number one priority should be the health of people here in Las Vegas and the state of Nevada. And I do believe that that's what Sisolak wants. And that's what he talked about in the press conference yesterday. He talked about how we continue to need to be vigilant. We need to continue to practice social distancing, and he's going to continue to listen to his experts. In my personal opinion, based on what I heard in that press conference yesterday, it sounded to me there's no chance that we're going to be opening up phase 1, May 1st. It sounded to me like it could be June 1st, maybe mid-May, but not sure yet. And the governor shouldn't have to give a specific date because it's going to be dependent on what the professionals say. We could be in a different situation in 2 weeks than we are today. That's very, very possible. And these people that want to go after the governor, and by the way, I didn't vote for him, and I'm not a huge Sisolak guy, but for these people out there, many of whom are on the right, many of whom are totally okay with the Republican National Convention being postponed, but those are the same people that want everything to open up, which makes zero sense to me. But many of the people on the right that want to attack Governor Sisolak, when you ask them, well, what would you have done differently? Do you think the governor did the right thing by closing down the Strip? They don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about all the lives that Governor Sisolak probably saved. I know he saved by shutting down the Strip. They don't want to talk about stuff like that. They just want to attack. So let me ask all of you, the buffoons out there that are doing that, let me ask you this. What benefit does Governor Sisolak have? Do you think Governor Sisolak wants to piss off at least half the state, or maybe 75% of the state? What benefit does Governor Sisolak have by keeping us in lockdown or shutdown? Is he benefiting off of that politically? Is he benefiting off of that financially? The answer is no and no.
You don't know that for a fact, Brian.
Do you know that for a fact? Do you know that for a fact that he's benefiting financially?
You don't know that he is not benefiting financially.
Do you know that?
We've had callers call in and suggest.
I don't care what callers say.
He actually has a piece of a couple of marijuana dispensaries.
Don't care. We have callers that call in that say Fauci is responsible
Right now,
for
marijuana dispensaries are open while everything else is closed.
And do you have evidence that he is benefiting?
I'm just saying you don't know that he's not benefiting.
So
also, he did slip in.
So you have zero evidence.
And this is actually taking place. But on June 9th, the primary election is going to be 100% an all-mail ballot.
So what? What does that have to do with what I just said?
Everything.
What are you talking about?
That's a huge deal.
So if people don't feel comfortable in getting into their cars and going somewhere to vote, you have a problem with people voting through the mail?
What I'm saying is,
what are you saying?
I believe that we're probably going to see we'll see the cases drop down 14 days in a row.
All right. Well, I'm not talking about
after May 15th.
All right,
and we'll probably be out of our lockdown situation.
All right, let's go one thing at a time.
By June 10th.
Okay, we can
that's my estimation at this point.
I'm glad to have that conversation with you, but let's go one step at a time. This is my problem with some of the people that are going after Sisolak with what you just said. You have zero evidence to support your claim or your insinuation that Governor Sisolak is profiting off of a government shutdown. And your response is, well, you don't know, Brian, if he's not profiting. Well, you know what? You could be a pimp, JD. It's possible. I don't have evidence to support that, but you could. Now, obviously, I don't think you're a pimp, JD, but you get my point. If you don't have evidence to support a claim, then you shouldn't be making that claim. And
Brian,
it's targeted harassment is what it is.
There is no evidence right now that what is going on with social distancing is actually effective.
I'm not. We can get to that.
No, there's absolutely none whatsoever.
You made the claim that you think Sisolak could be benefiting.
I'm saying you don't know that he isn't. And I don't know either. But I'm just
saying. There's no evidence to support
neither of us do know what is going on.
So why would you make that claim?
I'm saying he could be profiting off this. It's possible.
That's ridiculous.
No, it's not. It's not ridiculous, Brian.
That's ridiculous.
Look at what's taking place.
Zero evidence.
Look at what's taking place, Brian.
It's a conspiracy theory.
It's not a conspiracy theory.
Then give me some evidence.
I'm just saying you don't know and I don't know.
So don't claim that.
That's not.
So don't throw it out there.
How did I claim that?
Well, you know, Donald Trump could be benefiting off of this.
I'm saying he could be benefiting off it. You don't know that he is or he isn't. That's all I'm saying.
If he owns dispensaries, I'm going to moderate for a second here. If Governor Sisolak owns dispensaries, wouldn't he be profiting with or without the shutdown?
Yes.
Much more with the shutdown because nothing else is open. And right now all these dispensaries are literally delivering dispensary products to your home at $100 minimum order right now.
Okay, well, my point is, folks, this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. People that are going after the governor are throwing claims out there with no evidence.
I'm saying you don't know that he's profiting or that he isn't profiting.
Well, I guess Donald Trump is.
And
you don't know.
And neither do I. But what I do know is that the Las Vegas Sun came out with an article yesterday, and they're predicting that the entire city of Las Vegas is going to lose $1 billion this year, Brian.
And what does it have to do with what we were talking about?
Because that is a massive deal. After making $70 million in police cuts and medical cuts and hospital cuts, they're still going to be behind $156 million.
What does that
for
have
the
to do
year.
with Governor Sisolak profiting? That's what we were just talking
No,
about.
that's not what we're talking about at all. And we're talking about governors. You think Governor Sisolak made the right decision? I'm saying he made the wrong decision. I'm saying he made the absolute wrong decision.
Well, clearly you put the economy before, the health of our citizens.
There's been
we talk about that every
There's
day.
been 162 deaths and 4,100
And why do you think that is?
As of yesterday, an autopsy came out in California after the Stanford study that came out that suggested that actually 4.1% of the population had been infected, not 0.001. And this autopsy said that February 6th was the first day that a person actually died in the United States of the coronavirus in California, not February 29th in Washington State. And there was another one, the 17th.
And what does that have to do with
and the
reopening?
6th. What I'm saying is, Brian, this virus has been here for a long, long time. And we're now getting more information that confirms that. And if it was in California on February 6th, I'm sure it was in Las Vegas on February, because the mortality rate is much lower than is being discussed.
You don't know that.
Of course I do.
No, you don't.
Absolutely I do.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
Based on what?
Based on the fact that the deaths in California are not significantly high compared to the amount of infected or the projected amount of infected. So why can we use the projections from the IHME based on the University of Washington study suggesting that maybe 2.2 million people are going to die? But on the same side of things, on the other side of things, we can't use a projection of how many people actually were infected with the virus based on the antibody studies.
I mean,
what I'm saying is, Brian, the study, the autopsy came out, and it was basically stated that 23 days before the first death in the United States in Washington State, there was a death in California.
So it got here a couple weeks before. So what? It doesn't change my opinion. I don't think we should reopen the state.
Not a couple weeks before, Brian. A couple months before. And if it was in California,
what do you mean a couple months before?
A couple months before.
What do you mean a couple months before?
Because it was a case of communicable disease.
I told you, I find this very interesting because I told you a couple months ago that I thought this got here in late December.
Okay.
Remember we had this conversation and you disagreed with me?
I thought I had it. Okay. I thought I had it in mid-January.
I told you I thought this virus got here in late December. I don't even know why you're even debating this with me. I told you I was having a conversation with one of my good friends who is a college basketball coach in Utah who told me that he thought half his team had it in early January. I'm not debating that with you. I don't even know why we're getting into this debate.
Because what I'm saying is mortality rate is a lot lower. Brian. A lot of Las Vegas is most likely infected. And do you know what
that's ridiculous.
Do you know what Sisolak is trying to do? He is trying to test.
You're saying without any evidence. You don't know that.
Brian,
you do that every day.
I do not. You just don't understand the bridge there.
You're right. I don't understand.
You don't.
I don't understand.
If you tell me I don't know, I'm going to tell you don't understand.
All right. I don't understand.
That being said, Steve Sisolak is trying.
I understand that people are dying, and you never seem to bring that up.
I totally understand people are dying, and that's number two, Brian. That's just a number.
I don't hear you talk about that. I don't hear you talk. All I hear you talk about is the people that are suffering from the economy.
Which is
I hear you give out.
Absolute lot of people.
Well, you know what? This is my problem.
It is a ton of people.
This is my problem.
There's 400,000 people in Nevada alone.
This is my problem with many people on the right that want everything to reopen.
If I was on the left, I would think the exact same thing.
If I could just finish my statement. This is the problem with many people on the right that want to reopen the state and want everything to reopen. They want to talk about the economy, which is fine. They want to talk about unemployment numbers. But one thing they rarely ever bring up, something very similar to Donald Trump in his coronavirus press conferences, is talking about those who have died, mourning those who have died and their loved ones, those who are grieving. They want to bring up unemployment numbers, and they want to be able to get their hair cut. And I'm sorry, I have a very big problem with that.
The haircut's an example of a dictatorial statement by a governor who said, and I quote, "I haven't got my haircut in 6 weeks, so you can wait too." That's why I bring it up.
Okay, so answer me this then.
In the grand scheme of things, that the haircut is totally irrelevant.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Because there are other states that are opening up hair salons, and the reason why I bring that up is for this reason. What do you think about a governor who says nail salons are going to be able to open up on Friday, and you're going to be able to get your hair cut, yet they're saying you have to practice 6 feet social distancing? Now, explain to me, JD, how you can do that if someone is cutting your hair or you're at a nail salon. How can you practice social distancing?
If I was that governor, I would say that the person getting their haircut and the person cutting the hair need to both wear masks. That's what I would say under those circumstances.
That's still not practicing social distancing according to what they asked for.
Well, according to social distancing, Brian, neither of us have been practicing this for 5 weeks.
I'm specifically talking to you.
I'm sitting 3 feet away from you.
And I was also tested for the coronavirus. But I'm specifically.
And you could have picked it up the day after.
I am specifically.
That's why the antibody test is so much more important than the COVID-19 test.
I'm specifically talking about Republican governors that are putting these into effect, that some of these places of business are going to be opening up on Friday, yet they're contradicting themselves. And they're saying practice social distance, but you know what? You can get your hair cut. You could go to the nail salon. I'm sorry. I have a huge problem with that. And by the way, we're 4 people. And when you go into these nail salons or you get your hair cut, it's not just 2 people in a place. There's more than 10 people a lot of the time in these businesses.
What he was talking about when he said, I can wait, I waited 6 weeks, you can wait 6 weeks too. He was talking about Governor Sisolak. He was talking about one-on-one haircuts.
I'm not talking about Governor Sisolak. I'm talking about the Republican governors that are opening up hair salons and nail salons on Friday. That's what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
We can get back to Governor Sisolak.
You're going to see.
You don't have a problem with that.
You're going to see Arizona open up. You're going to see Utah open up. You're going to see probably 10 or 12 Republican states with Republican-run governors open up, and all these Democratic states with Democratic governors are not going to open up.
And many of those,
it's going to be very, very political.
Many of those haircut places and other businesses that are being opened by some states in the South, they're actually probably not even going to. I mean, I saw some mayors, some local mayors and some local business owners in Georgia that said, well, governor can do whatever he wants. I'm not going to open my business because I don't feel safe.
That's fine, too.
So, I mean,
Absolutely.
They do have that choice.
And by the way, there are a lot of people that agree with me. There's a lot of people that do believe that Governor Sisolak is doing the right thing. And most of the people, I would say 90% of the people that are calling Governor Sisolak sissy and they're calling him names, or, for example, with all due respect, those who think that he might be profiting off of this government shutdown are the same people that are huge Donald Trump supporters. So I find it to be very politically biased.
That's not true at all.
Oh, you're a Trump supporter.
In this situation, I am a vehement Trump supporter.
And you're making a claim with no evidence to back it up.
I'm saying, no, you're making a claim that he's not profiting. I'm saying...
Because there's no evidence to back up that he is.
Okay, I'm saying he might be.
Which is ridiculous. You have zero evidence to back it up. That's a conspiracy theory.
If I was a bleeding heart liberal, Brian, I would still want this.
Has nothing to do with your political affiliation.
I would still want this open.
All right, so going by your logic.
It has nothing to do with me being a Republican at all. Not a thing.
Fair enough. So going by your logic with what you just said, it's very possible that Donald Trump is profiting off this shutdown, and it's very possible that every governor in every state is profiting off this shutdown. Would you agree with that?
Sure.
Okay, well, that's ridiculous.
Oh,
that's
why?
ridiculous.
Why?
Because you have no evidence to back up a claim.
Brian, ridiculous is we're literally sitting in our houses.
That's a completely different situation.
That's
not ridiculous. It's called social distancing.
We're not living our lives trying to save our lives.
There's a lot of people that are dead. That's what's ridiculous.
We're not living our lives in hope of saving our lives.
Well,
it is a complete oxymoron
it's not in hope of saving our lives. There's close to 50,000 people that have died in this country, which you fail to bring up every single day.
I don't actually think that numbers. I think it's more like 35.
Here we go again, another conspiracy theory.
It's not a conspiracy theory, Brian.
Conspiracy theory number 8 in the last 20 minutes.
Has nothing to do with the conspiracy
theory. Yes, it is,
theory,
because
Brian.
you don't know that to be a fact. Just like you say Governor Sisolak.
And you don't know the death rate to be a fact. You don't know the mortality.
Yes, I do.
No, you don't.
Based on the professionals.
No, you do not. No, you do not.
So they're all lying. They're all inflating the death rate. Okay, you're right.
No one is factoring in asymptomatic and mild cases, Brian. That's why.
So all the healthcare professionals,
has nothing to do with
all the people in the hospitals, it has nothing to do with the healthcare professionals?
I'm saying the fact that you don't know the number has nothing to do with the healthcare officials.
Well, I'm going by the number that the professionals are reporting, not the numbers
that
conspiracy theorists say.
No one is factoring in asymptomatic or mild cases, including you. You think the actual number of infected people in the United States is 820,000? You actually think that?
Yeah, because those are what they're saying, not what you're saying, and I'll take what they're saying over you any day of the week.
You're saying there's no asymptomatic cases? None.
What are you talking about?
Those numbers are...
There's a lot of people that have not been tested. There could be more people that are infected. I don't deny that. There's no question.
Brian, there's been 7 antibody study tests done over the last...
What does that have to do with people claiming that they're inflating the death numbers? It's another conspiracy
theory. I'm not
theory.
saying they're inflating the death numbers. I'm saying we don't know the mortality rate.
You just said, literally, 2 minutes ago, I just said close to 50,000 people have died, and you just said, no, I think it's close to 35. So how do you correlate that to not saying that they're inflating the death numbers?
I'm saying the death rate is lower. The mortality rate is lower. I believe that the actual death, the numbers are being inflated by the hospitals because
so you do think they're inflating the death numbers?
Because of the CARES Act.
Okay.
Because under Medicare, you get 20% more for listing or for using a ventilator or listing the fact that the person is on COVID. And a lot of people who are getting this disease and getting sick are uninsured. And so if you're uninsured and you go to the hospital, how does the hospital pay for that? They don't. Under these circumstances, if they list you as COVID or if they use a ventilator, they get paid by the government according to the CARES Act, and that's a scientific. And that's a fact. And that's a fact. I'm saying they have a major incentive right now to list COVID as a case as well as use a ventilator.
So you think
because of the $100 billion that was issued to the hospitals in the CARES Act, $40 billion of which 40% is expected to go to the uninsured.
So here's why this is another. If I could just explain,
that is not a conspiracy theory.
Okay, well, if I can explain why I think it is. You said that you think that there's a chance Governor Sisolak could be profiting off of this, and even though you have zero evidence to back it up, you said, well, it could. Because hospitals are getting paid per coronavirus death, even though you have hold on, if I could finish, because I know you're ready to interrupt me. If even though that is true, you have zero specific evidence to claim that the death rate has been inflated. Your only backup excuse is that, well, the hospitals are getting paid blah, 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 so let's just assume that they're lying. And guess what? That's another conspiracy theory, just like your Governor Sisolak conspiracy theory, and you are wrong.
No, I'm not wrong.
You don't have facts. No. Give me one specific doctor, nurse, or anybody in a hospital with direct evidence that they said that somebody died.
2 weeks ago, New York added...
You can't answer that question.
No, 2 weeks ago, New York added 3,700 to their death toll just randomly based on presumptive positive cases, Brian.
Just randomly?
Yes.
So they just pointed at people and said, you died of the coronavirus, even though we don't know.
People
just
died
randomly.
Yes, people died at their homes, and they assumed because of talking to their family.
Here's why you're wrong.
And their family, no, I'm not wrong. You gotta let me finish, Brian.
Okay,
you can't
I know what you're gonna say.
You like to have me not interrupt you. Don't interrupt me.
Well, it's another conspiracy.
No, it's not. No, it's not, Brian.
Go ahead.
That being said, they went to their homes. These people died. These people died in their homes. Their family members said they had symptoms. Don't interrupt me, Brian.
Go ahead.
Stop interrupting me.
Go ahead. Finish.
All right.
I mean,
how is this hard to comprehend?
How is it hard to comprehend?
I can't interrupt you, but you can interrupt me.
Well, go ahead. I mean, I know people personally that have died, and you're saying that they're inflated, and I take that personal. But go ahead, keep going.
Where was that at?
Go ahead.
Where was that at?
Go ahead.
That was in Connecticut, right?
Finish your story.
That was not in New York.
Go ahead.
Was that in Connecticut?
Finish your story. Go ahead.
Where was that at?
Honestly, with everything that you're talking about with these conspiracy theories, I feel uncomfortable even giving you more information about somebody that I know that died. But go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Because you'll say it was inflated and she didn't have the virus.
I'm not going to say that at all.
Well, you might say that because that's what you're saying about other people.
No, I'm saying New York City added 3,700 to their death toll. They went to these people's homes. They talked to their families. They died, and they just presumed they had the coronavirus based on conversations with their families. They were not ever tested for the virus, and they just added that number to the death toll, Brian. And yes, that combined with the fact that Medicare is paying out to uninsured. If you're uninsured and you go to the hospital is taking a giant hit, especially if you don't have a job, especially if the economy is in trouble. So yes, I believe that the hospitals have incentive based on the CARES Act. In fact, they're getting paid 20% more for not only listing COVID-19 as a cause of action, as well as using a ventilator. I believe that, and that's not a conspiracy theory, that is literally, I am describing to you what the CARES Act is.
All right, well, we'll have more time to discuss this later on in the show, but coming up next, as you know, I've been very critical of some of these protests that have happened across the country, particularly here in Las Vegas. Coming up next, her name is Pam Bennett. She is one of the main organizers of the Las Vegas protest, also part of Nevadans Against Extended Quarantine on Facebook. So she'll be joining us next, and we'll take a quick break. Be back right after this. You are listening to The Vegas Take.
Nerds! NerdWallet presents Money Questions, the lightning round. Here we go, Carol. How can people compare the best credit cards?
Turn to the nerds.
Should you pay off debt or save for retirement?
Turn to the nerds.
One more. Should I listen to my father-in-law's advice on mortgage lenders?
Turn to the nerds.
You win! Confetti is literally falling from the sky.
I'm going to put my winnings in a 2-year CD.
That would be prudent, Carol.
From helpful tools to expert guidance. For all your money questions, turn to the nerds at nerdwallet.com. NMLS ID number 1617539.
Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Whether you enjoy classical, rock, or heavy metal, we all march to the beat of our own drummer, or guitarist. That's why Views also offers you more ways to vape your way. It's available in 5 bold color options, 3 smooth tastes, and 3 nicotine levels. It's your vape, your way. Views, charge beyond. Underage sale prohibited.
I'm Jim Snyder.
And I'm Marie Mortera. We want to thank you for making News 3 your #1 choice for news.
Every weeknight at 11, you can count on us to have the big story of the day.
Plus breaking news that matters to you.
Jim Snyder and Marie Mortera. News 3 live at 11.
Visit GoForMe2.com. Like go, the number 4, me, the number 2.com. Pay to have items from essential businesses allowing online ordering delivered right to your door. Orders from Target, Walmart, Walgreens, Chick-fil-A, and 7-Eleven, just to name a few. GoForMe2.com is back backed by a 100% refund policy and a $15 inconvenience fee if the order isn't successfully completed. It's go, the number 4, me, the number 2.com. GoForMe2.com. It's easy and backed by a 100% refund policy. Check out GoForMe2.com. That's go, the number 4, me, the number 2.com.
This is Harry Jacobs from Credit Restoration of Nevada, inviting you to join me for the Credit Show, Saturday mornings between 9 and 10, here on the new 101.5 FM and 720 AM.
Hi, it's David Masters. Join me and my brother Alan for Advice Line, 10 to midnight, Monday through Friday, right here on 720 KDON and on 101.5 FM. That's Advice Line, America's live radio counseling program. If you've got problems, we've got your answers. Monday through Friday, 10 to midnight.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says China failed to give the U.S. timely information.
We strongly believe that the Chinese Communist Party did not report the outbreak of the new coronavirus in a timely fashion to the World Health Organization.
Congress is moving ahead toward final approval of a near $500 billion package to help small businesses. More from correspondent Phil Mattingly.
This will be a replenishment of that money that disappeared so quickly just 13 and a half days after that Paycheck Protection Program set up by the Small Business Administration. That program will now get $310 billion more dollars. Had $349 billion to start with, now an additional $310 billion, which should be good news for the thousands of people that had applications that were essentially waiting in the queue if it had even gotten that far to this point.
On Wall Street, stocks are rising today. The Dow is currently up about 2%. I'm Mike Moss.
Maybe you could really...
It's time to check the roads. From the Letterman Road Traffic Studio.
Attention all authors. Page Publishing is looking for authors. Have you written a book and want to get it published? Page Publishing will get your book into bookstores and for sale online at Amazon, Apple iTunes, and other outlets. They handle all aspects of the publishing process for you. Printing, cover art, publicity, copyright, and editing. Call 800-501-3689 now for your free author submission kit. That's 800-501-3689 for your free author submission kit. Again, 800-501-3689.
I'm attorney Paul Powell. If you get hurt in a crash, did you know your lawyer can take more money than you? That's right. You get hurt and the lawyer gets rich. Not very fair, is it? When you hire me, those worries go bye, bye, bye. I promise never to take more money than you. And I put it in writing.
If you're tired of greedy lawyers, call 728-5500 or go to paulpowell.com.
I really can help.
Paul Powell.
More lawyer, less fee.
Some restrictions apply.
Maybe you can relate to this. A lot of people think they're stuck with their health plan. It costs too much, or for whatever reason, they just don't like it. But great news, you are not stuck with it. There is a choice. It's called MediShare, and you could save so much. The typical savings for a family is $500 a month. Major difference maker. This is the affordable alternative to health insurance. And just to give you a little more info about MediShare, it's a Christian healthcare sharing ministry. It's worked beautifully for 26 years, has more than 400,000 members, and they've shared over $3 billion of each other's medical bills. So yes, they can help share your needs too. So you're not stuck. There's an excellent alternative, whether you're single or married, you got a family. MediShare is super flexible. You can choose an option that works for you and start saving lots of money. You can join anytime. They're great to talk to. No pressure. Call 844-91-BIBLE. That's 844-91-BIBLE. 844-91-BIBLE.
This is Lorraine Hunt Bono, inviting you to tune in for Breaking Bread with Bono. Join my husband, Dennis Bono, as celebrities share with him their intimate and humorous stories. Saturdays, 5 to 6 p.m., right here on KDON.
If you have a problem with your teeth and don't know what to do, pick up the phone and call AQ. AQ Denture and Implant Center has built a strong reputation by delivering affordable quality in a timely manner. AQ Dental offers you complete dentistry, including crowns, bridges, relines, dentures, and denture repairs. All the work is created on-site at AQ Dental by their trained lab technicians. Call today and set your appointment at 565-6000. If you have a problem with your dentures and you don't know what to do, pick up the phone and call AQ. 702-565-6000.
So you've decided to go to college. Pop quiz. Which is a better way to earn your degree? Commute to college and fill your gas tank, get stuck in traffic, drive in bad weather, try to find a parking space, walk a half mile to class, or learn online at Independence University. In the park, on a bench, on the beach, on a towel, or on your couch with your kid. Your campus is wherever you want it to be. That's Independence University. And all your supplies, including a brand new laptop and tablet, are included with tuition.
Call 800-817-8504. That's 800-817-8504.
101.5 FM, 720 AM. KDON, the talk of Las Vegas. Sean Hannity, weekdays noon to 3 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM. KDON.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Glad you can join us on a Wednesday. Certainly a good heated debate, and we'll take some phone calls a little bit later on in the show. Now, I make no excuses, and I haven't changed my opinions on this. I think a lot of the protesters, not all of them, but a good majority of the protesters throughout the country, even here in Las Vegas, were not practicing social distancing. I think that is very, very irresponsible. Well, the lady we're going to bring up here on the line here in a second, she is from Nevadans Against Extended Quarantine. That's a Facebook, I guess you could call it a Facebook group. This is what she had to say. She was actually one of those people that was at the rally on Saturday. This is Pam Bennett in her own words. Have a listen to this.
Have you been on the strip? Have you been on the strip? It is boarded up. This guy has told people they are non-essential.
Okay, well, I would say to that the reason why it's boarded up is because people don't want to get their businesses broken into. But, hey, we're going to give her a chance to respond to this, and hopefully it'll be a good spirited debate. Pam Bennetts joining us right now on the line. Pam, I appreciate you coming on with us. How are you?
Hey, what's up,
Good
Pam?
morning. How are you this morning?
Good, good. I appreciate you coming on. So I'm sure we'll have a very good spirited debate here. We'll probably disagree on a lot of things, but that's okay. That's why we wanted you to have on and state your case. All right, so
That's why it's America.
Absolutely, absolutely. I agree. We certainly agree on that. That's for sure. So for the last month or so, I've been very critical of protesters for this reason. Not because they're protesting, but because they're protesting and not practicing social distancing. So my question to you is this. Why is it okay for you to not practice social distancing and put everybody's health at risk just so you can, shout out some things? Why is it okay for you to put my health at risk and not practice social distancing and protest?
Well, first of all, when I went to the rally, I assumed it was going to be like Michigan and we were going to drive in our cars. And when I got there, that was not the case. So I sat in my car and I had my signs ready and I thought about it and I thought, it's kind of like when you go to a club and the music plays and somebody has to be the first person to go out and dance on the floor. And that person was me, along with other people. And I believe we needed to voice our opinion that, yes, this virus is out there, but here in Nevada, we have only 172 deaths, and that's very sad. And I feel very sorry for those people that have died and their family members. But we have 3.3 million people here. So basically, to me, that means that 3,299,000 people and 828 just don't matter. And their livelihoods and lives are just as important.
Okay, well, my response to that, and I'll end with a question, but my first response to that is if you go dancing and you start dancing, you're not putting anybody's health at risk, and that has nothing to do with a very, very serious virus where over 50,000 people across the country have died. Number two, you had a choice. You had a choice to stay in your car or leave, and you decided not to do that. Now, I understand you want to put up the stats and say, well, only 172 people have died, but don't you think that a good part or reason for that is because people are being responsible? The majority of people in the state of Nevada are social distancing. Sisolak closed down the strip. Do you not think that if Sisolak did not close down the strip, that number wouldn't have gone way up?
I think it's possible it would have went way up, but I also believe that this virus was here way before anybody thought about it. And even U.S. News did an article in January 11th to be exact. And they were curious as to why in Nevada there were already 11 deaths for the flu. We had 634 cases.
But what does it have to do with not practicing social distancing? I'm confused. Even if you're right.
Well, we were not practicing social distancing in January.
And how many
February,
tests did we have? And how many tests did we have back then in order to prove that claim?
Well, how many tests do we actually have now? Because
it's
I go
pathetic.
to UNLV every week. Every week I go to UNLV since this started.
Okay.
And they talk about the lines that are there, and they talk about the 700 additional reserves that we got to help out UNLV to do the testing. And I have pictures, and I have gone at different times and different days of the week. And do you know how many people are there ever?
So you're saying we have more than enough testing?
On a Saturday, there wasn't even a medical person present. They didn't even have a person in the tent.
So wouldn't that give more reason for people to be cautious and not hold protest and not practice social distancing? You're making my point for me.
No, she's not. No, she's not at all. She's saying that there's not enough sick people to actually get tested in Nevada, in Las Vegas.
So
she's saying that.
I don't believe that I am endangering myself or others when My friends, some of them are working in these hospitals, and there's not a pandemic of people racing into the hospital. Yes, there's people there, and yes, they are sick, but there isn't 1 million people standing in line. There's not 1,000 people standing in line. In the beginning, I even drove around to the hospitals because I thought, I need to see this for myself. If there are this many people that are ill, there must be people racing in.
Okay, but think about it for a second. Okay, but let's think about this for a second. You're saying
that's a very good point.
that you have pictures and you didn't see large lines. So because you didn't see that, you don't want to practice social distancing. You want to protest on the strip. You want to put others at risk because you are. Let's just be honest with this. You don't know whether you have the virus or not. You don't know whether you're spreading the virus or not. And by the way, you don't know if those other people are spreading the virus.
Brian, how big is that risk?
So because personally,
that's my choice, and that is my
no. But it's not about you.
America.
Okay, but here's the thing. First of all, you're going against Donald Trump and his administration's guidelines. Do you understand that?
I do understand that, and I said when I went there, I was not in favor of how they did it, but after I got there, for the first time in almost a month, I felt alive. I have felt dead. We are not living right now. If you think you're living, you're crazy.
That's a completely different. Listen, you're not alone on this. You're not alone on this. But 90
weeks, I have been an essential employee.
Yeah, we all have.
4 weeks, I have went to work with hundreds of people. I work with people all day long. Not one of us have it. I work in a construction trade where they're working on big projects. We don't have it.
But here's the thing.
I have a great chance of getting it. I've been in the world. I'm not just going out haphazardly, licking doors and trying to.
But listen to what you just said, Pam, with all due respect. You have a great chance of having it, but yet, I'm using your own words, but yet you have no problem protesting, not practicing social distancing, and putting everyone else at risk. I'm sorry, with all due respect, I find that to be extremely selfish. You're talking about you. You. Hold on a second. Let me finish.
No,
you saw all the lines. You took pictures. You haven't seen this. What about all the doctors and the healthcare professionals that disagree with you? What about the President of the United States and his administration? What about all the professionals out there? You're talking about you, and you're saying it's your right. With all due respect, it's not your right to put other people's lives at risk. Let me be honest with you, Pam. If it was just
you, the only person that has a right, you think you
this
are,
isn't about rights. You don't understand.
That matters.
This isn't about rights. Do you not understand that if you you're putting other people? It's not. Listen, if it was just you.
I think the media has put fear into.
Don't start with the media. Let's focus on you and me.
I'm gonna start with the media.
Okay, well, I don't speak for other people. I speak for myself. So let's comment on what I'm saying, not what others are saying. I'm saying you are being selfish because you just said it yourself. You could have the virus, but yet you are trying to make excuses for why it was okay for you to put other people at risk on the strip. I find that very dangerous, and I find it selfish. If it was just you that could get the virus, if it was just you,
people that were there,
if it was just you that could get, listen, if it was just you that could get the virus, I would say, fine, go ahead, knock yourself out. But I compare what you are doing to drunk driving because it is involuntary manslaughter.
Okay, so you think that all protesters should be put in jail, Brian?
Didn't say that.
Las Vegas. Well, I mean,
didn't say that.
You go to jail for involuntary.
Go by what I said.
You get a crime.
Well, let me put it to you this way: it's very hard to prove.
Brian.
But Pam, with all due respect, I'll say this: if Pam does have the virus, and she doesn't know if she does or not, but I'm only going by what she said she could. And if she infected other people at that protest because of her irresponsible behavior, you're damn right. It's very difficult to prove. But what we do know is that the President of the United States and his administration have put forth guidelines of social distancing. She did not practice those guidelines. She did not do that because she decided to make her own selfish decision. And Pam, I appreciate you coming on, but I completely disagree with you.
And I completely agree with you, Pam. And I think that you're right. If the virus was here in December or January, that means that it was running rampant throughout Las Vegas, uncontained. And
so that's an excuse not to practice social distancing.
And the question is, did the death toll go up significantly? No. Deaths in Clark County have been about the same for the last year.
Even if that was the case, you still need to practice social distancing. That's a bad excuse.
If we're worried about a tidal wave of cases, like Governor Sisolak is suggesting,
forget about a tidal wave.
Then why did we not? Well, that's why we're not in that's why
you need to practice social distancing. It's a very simple debate.
But right now, Brian, honestly, we're not practicing social distancing in this place. Right now, I am 3 feet away.
We're talking about
500 people. You are 2 feet away from Stein.
I was testing, number one.
Yeah,
and number two.
You could have got it the next day.
And number two,
it's a fluid situation.
Excuse me,
Were
there's
you-
4 people in this
were
room.
you tested for antibodies?
Excuse me.
No, the most
All right,
important
let's
test is
let-
antibodies. No,
There's
I'm
4
just- I'm
people.
just saying, I'm just saying, Brian.
Well, you're saying something that doesn't make
no,
sense.
No, the virus ran rampant for 2 months, and there wasn't exactly a
Which is
tidal
not an
wave-
excuse
a
not to
tidal
practice
wave.
social distancing.
What that means is that the virus is not as deadly as is being reported
Which
by
you
the
don't-
media,
which you don't know.
Which is exactly what Pam is saying. Of
Which you
course
don't
I
know.
do
You're not a
know.
healthcare professional. You're not a doctor. You don't know that to be true.
You don't have to be a healthcare professional to know that
Let's
a lot
let
of
Pam respond.
that there's
Go
a lot
ahead,
of
Pam.
asymptomatic cases out there, Brian.
Go ahead, Pam.
I think we kind of do know because as Sisolak put out a chart yesterday, or his people that put out the chart, he said one person could give it to 2 persons, and 2 persons can give it to 10 persons, and 10 persons could give it to 100 people. Well, if that's the case, if you go to Walmart,
No, there we
there's
go.
400
I knew you were
cars
gonna bring
there
that up.
every day.
Every
at
single
any
day. And
given
First of
time.
all-
Exactly.
So by
Okay.
now, the entire city of Las Vegas
Sure.
should be in the hospital.
So let me
if
respond to
those
that
numbers
Walmart.
are
Let me
correct.
let me respond to that Walmart claim because I've heard a lot of people on the right like to make that claim. First of all, number one.
It has nothing to do
Okay.
with right or
Okay.
left.
Well, then why are all those Trump signs at all these protests? Please explain that, Pam.
Because I think they have a right to.
No. Why? We're
No,
talking
he's-
about. Excuse me, JD. Let me ask her a question. If you don't think this is
that's a false
Excuse me,
equivalency. He's trying to attempt to create a false equivalency.
You just said this. You just said this isn't about politics. I just asked you a very specific question. Why is it that there are so many Trump? Why is it? Why is it that there are some? Excuse me. Why is it? You're telling me the majority of people at these protests are Democrats? Give me a break.
No,
Why is
I
it?
don't think this virus.
Why
is
are there Trump
political.
signs at these protests if it's not about politics? Please answer that question.
There was nothing about politics.
That's
at that
ridiculous.
rally.
Okay, that's
Like,
ridiculous. You're not
if
being
other
intellectually
people
honest.
If other people wanted to promote Trump, that's up to them also.
But you just said it's not about politics.
The issue is, Brian, you're making it seem like it's about politics for every single person. You do that a lot.
Didn't
Look
say
at-
every
no,
single
no,
person.
well, is it possible that it's about
Didn't
politics?
say it was about every
that
single
it's about
person.
politics for
Pam just
for
said it's not
Ted.
about.
Yeah, for her. For her, it's not.
Okay, Pam
And,
just
and,
said.
and apparently she's not entitled to her own opinion. Only you are.
Pam just said it's not about politics, and
I found this hilarious. I listened to your article last night, one of your.
I don't write
reviews,
articles.
And it was on Dina Titus, and she said it wasn't political, and the whole interview became political.
I don't write about. Well,
became political.
all right. Well, first of all, I don't write articles. I do a radio show, so let's be factually accurate. Number one. Number two, you're the one that said it wasn't about politics, and I'm simply pointing out, not necessarily you. I don't know if you had a sign, but protests throughout the country, there were people with Donald Trump signs. I didn't see one Bernie Sanders sign or Joe Biden sign. So don't tell me this isn't about politics. So
For
it's just not true.
for some people, of course, it's about politics.
Did you
Brian.
see one Joe Biden sign
Doesn't-
at any of these protests?
That doesn't make a difference.
Okay, well, it does make a difference because what she said is not correct.
No, what she's saying is, what I'm saying is, I want to live my life. Right now, we're in the entertainment capital of the world, and we are literally sitting inside waiting for doctors to tell us when we can go outside.
Which I would rather listen to them, with all due respect, than listen to an organization called the Bennetts against extended quarantine.
It's not an organization, Brian. It's a Facebook group.
A group.
And I'm one of the admins.
How many healthcare professionals
along with her?
And how many healthcare professionals are in this group? Let me ask you another question, Pam. I went on your Nevadans against extended quarantine on Facebook today. I didn't notice one post that talked about all those families that are mourning and all those people that have lost their lives, whether it's 146 or you want to talk about the close to 50,000 people that have died across the country. I see people going after Steve Sisolak. I see people going after politicians. Reopen. If you have that opinion, you have the right to your opinion. But why is it I don't see any post in your organization talking about those who have lost loved ones? Please explain that.
Well, because I think we're trying to gain momentum with our cause. You don't think that we have feelings? You don't think?
Then
that
why
we
haven't I
have
seen it on your?
people lost?
Then why haven't I seen it on your Facebook page? Then, if you have those feelings.
Because at this point, we're trying to help 3,299,000
by not
people,
practicing social distancing.
Honestly, Brian, we are trying to save Las Vegas.
Yeah, you're doing a great job. I wanted to reopen the state.
That is the absolute 100% truth. We are trying to save Las Vegas. Las Vegas is dying. Do you know what's going to happen if there are 400,000 unemployed people? We lose $1 billion, and we can't pay for. And we can't pay. We can't pay for doctors. We can't pay for fire department. We can't pay for police officers.
I've heard you make this argument every day.
85% of the money that comes into the country.
I know you want to talk about the financials.
Stop interrupting me, bro.
Well, because I want to talk to Pam. She's our guest.
How could you not want to talk about financials? Financials are what make the country go around.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that.
I would love to talk about that.
Las Vegas to make it go.
Sure.
And if I've already seen a restaurant with a for sale sign.
Mm-hmm.
I already have a friend that lost their business. I have a friend last night that had a friend that killed themselves because they can't deal with this.
Well, guess what? I have a friend that died of the coronavirus. So don't tell me because you have a friend that killed himself that makes it okay to open up the
And
state.
Brian, I had 3 friends that relapsed on heroin in Omaha 3 weeks ago.
So Pam,
so my 3 friends' lives aren't the same as your friend's mother's life.
Ridiculous statement.
Why?
Because,
That's what you're saying right now. That's what you're saying.
No, I'm not.
It's a ridiculous statement.
Okay, here's why.
Everybody's lives matter.
I agree with you.
This is about everybody.
I agree with you. So if it's about everybody, then why don't you want people to practice social distancing? If it's about everybody, then why don't you want everybody to practice social distancing? Because according to Donald Trump and his administration and every single governor across the country, they want everybody, even the Republican governors, want everybody to practice social distancing. Why are you making the excuse that that's not okay?
Because at some point, you can't stay in your house for the rest of your life.
Nobody's saying everyone's going to be in their house for the rest of their life. That's ridiculous.
There will be no Las Vegas. There will be no jobs.
That's ridiculous.
It's not ridiculous,
no
Brian.
money and they can't.
All right,
right now, the conversation.
Radio show.
Pam,
have anybody here?
Pam,
to
what
listen to your show.
what politician, Pam, has said that they want people in quarantine for the rest of their life? Because that's what you just said. Please quote me one politician that has said that.
I think it's time to go back to work now.
That's not what I asked you. That's not what I asked you.
Governor that spoke last night.
That's not what I asked you.
Doesn't even
Okay,
have
we'll
a
go there.
plan.
I'm glad to talk about that.
He wants to give tests. He wants everybody to take a test.
Okay, I understand.
Now,
We'll
if
go
you
there.
take a
You're not answering my question. You just said we shouldn't be in. No, you just said we shouldn't be in quarantine for the rest of our life, and I'm telling you, what reasonable politician has made that claim? That's a ridiculous extreme. Nobody's, and I've said that. I've seen that on your page. You have people on your page. You have people on your Facebook page that are saying, you know, people want us in quarantine forever. Name me one. Listen, you represent that Facebook, so I think it's very fair for me to ask you this question. What politician and what prominent person has said they think we should be in quarantine for the rest of our lives? That's an extreme, and it's not true.
It's not really an extreme when you have casinos that
if it's not true, it's an extreme.
June or July. And we cannot afford to wait till June or July when people are at home trying to figure out how to put food on their table for their children. We can't keep waiting for building one more business to close, or one more person to jump off a bridge, or one more person to be so depressed that they go to the streets and go to drugs. We can't.
Let's talk about Steve
care
Sisolak.
about the other people.
All right, let's talk. Let's talk about Steve
Why don't
Sisolak.
we quarantine the people that are vulnerable. Quarantine them and protect
Well,
them.
they're supposed to be quarantined, just like you're supposed to be quarantined.
And
so you know.
the rest of us need to go out and function.
Even though
as
if you
human
don't,
beings and
even
live
though
our
if
lives.
even though if you don't know if you have the virus or not, you're totally cool to go out there and not practice social distancing. That sounds very responsible.
I believe I had the virus in December.
You
I
don't.
woke up
You believe
with
that's.
one of
I believe I had
That's
it
the
in
problem with
January.
everything you and JD say, because it starts with I believe.
It's not just us. It's also the doctors. It's also
Pam,
Fauci. It's also
no, it's-
Birx. Brian, no one knows when this virus got here. No one knows how deadly it is.
So let's reopen everything and not practice social
I didn't
distancing.
say
You're
that.
talking-
I didn't
well,
say
Pam
that.
is saying
No,
that.
she's not.
Yes, she is.
No, she isn't.
Pam, don't you think we should reopen tomorrow?
I think we should open tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But with social distancing, wear masks if you want to, while protecting the most vulnerable to the virus. That's what should happen.
So you
Brian.
think we should practice social distancing?
Of course, why not?
Then why is Pam protesting without practicing social distancing and defending it?
She's not defending social distancing.
That if you want to
She's just saying she's not selfish. Bro, you don't even know what the risk of dying of the virus is.
Let Pam respond to
you
that.
have no idea.
Let Pam respond to that. JD thinks that we should be practicing social distancing. Yes, we should re-up in the state. Why is it, once again, that you're defending yourself not practicing social distancing?
Because if you look at the statistics, which who knows what to believe anymore.
Well, I
at this
believe the
point,
doctors over you.
It seems like 98% of the people are surviving. Do you know they can't even put the survival rate down for 30 days because a person has to be well for 30 days? We don't even know what that rate is right now.
Well, no, you don't know a lot of things. I agree.
Neither do you, Brian.
It would be pretty good.
I'll tell you one thing I'm doing. I'm not protesting on the strip.
All we do know for a fact, all three of us in this conversation, is that there are 22 million unemployed in the United States. There's 400,000
Here we go again
unemployed
with
in
this
Nevada.
the unemployment
system
stats.
is 2 weeks behind we had a homeless problem before all this happened. How bad is that going to get? And we know for a fact that Las Vegas is going to lose $1 billion. They've already laid off 100 police officers. They're going to do $70 million more in cuts. And then after that, they're still going to be behind $160 million for the budget on
We'll have 30 minutes to be able to debate the economy. I want to talk to Pam.
Unbelievable that is, Brian.
Pam, I want to ask you another question since you did bring up Steve Sisolak. Let's talk a little bit about Steve Sisolak, if we may. So, would you have not closed down the Strip when Steve Sisolak closed down the Strip? Do you think he made a bad decision by doing that?
I don't think he made a bad decision, but I don't really think he probably made that decision. I watched governors all over the United States, and they all followed one person.
Not true. Not true.
No.
The governor of Florida kept beaches open for a very long time. There are other governors, particularly Republican governors.
I watched multiple governors. I didn't say which one.
Okay. So I'm asking you again, do you think that Governor Sisolak made the correct decision? I believe he did. I believe he saved lives by making an early decision of closing down the Strip. Do you think he did the right thing?
I think that it should have been closed for a certain period of time, yes. But now I think we have statistics, and I think that we can all agree that 172 deaths out of 3.3 million people, your chances are pretty good that you're going to be okay.
And you don't think that has anything to do with social distancing and the governor's actions and the actions of the good citizens in Nevada? You think that if
I personally think that we already had the virus here and we all lived through it.
But here's the problem.
People don't even know.
Pam,
they're testing people right now in California. People that are out on the street, and they have it. And they're not spreading it.
Well, and not only do they have it, they have antibodies to it. So it proves that they may not have it right now, but over the last 4 to 5 months, they have had it and they are alive.
All right. Well, here's the point that I try to make with some of the stuff that's Pam saying and JD says every day. Your sentence always starts with "I personally believe," and my argument to that is this: I would rather listen to doctors.
Okay, how about
I could just finish my statement?
You're not going to. How about
I'm not going to.
How about the doctor? How about the doctors? No. How about the doctors that actually are the ones that are doing the studies? No. How about those are doctors? No. What about the What about the doctors that are actually conducting those studies? The antibody studies. Why are they not relevant? Why do those doctors not matter, but Anthony Fauci and Deborah Birx does? I don't understand, though. I don't understand how all those doctors in California and Colorado and Germany and the Netherlands and Massachusetts and New York, those doctors don't make a difference that are conducting those antibody tests. But the only doctors that do matter are those that follow your narrative, Brian. Why is that the case?
Can I talk now, or would
Absolutely,
you like to interrupt me again and
you can
interrupt a question that I was going to ask our guest? It's up to you. If you want to finish the interview, you can. The statement, and then there was going to be a question, but JD interrupted me. The statement is, you start everything off by saying, "I personally believe." You have no medical experience, and neither do I. I don't have any medical experience. I'm certainly not an expert. I'm not a doctor. JD is not a doctor. You're not a doctor. I form my opinions based on Dr. Fauci and the professionals in Donald Trump's administration, along with the healthcare professionals, state by state. Now, I'm sure you could probably find a few doctors here and there that might disagree with the state's orders of social distancing. But the bottom line is every single governor in every single state, even Republican governors, are saying that everybody should be practicing social distancing. Yet you decide to protest on the Strip, and you start your statements with, "Well, I personally believe." This isn't about what you believe, and it's not just about you, and it's not about JD, and it's not about me. It's about everybody else. And Pam, with all due respect, that is the point I try to make every day on this show. You might not agree, but I will say this in closing. I do appreciate you coming on. You knew I was going to ask you, we were getting into it. And I do appreciate anybody, including you, that has a difference of opinion and is willing to get into a debate. And I do appreciate you for that, Pam.
Thank you. I just think that we need to do something, and we need to go back to work, and not everybody all at once. But I don't know why it would be so bad to open up a few restaurants here and there and practice social distancing. And for those that don't want to go out, don't go out.
Pam, I hear what you're saying. Unfortunately, I'm up against.
You shouldn't be able to say the rest of the world doesn't get to make a living.
Understood.
And
Pam, unfortunately, I'm up against a break. I hate to cut you off here, but I will say this, and I mean this wholeheartedly. I hope you are safe. I hope your family and friends are safe. And I truly hope that we all get through this together. Pam, I appreciate you coming on very much, and I appreciate you being a stand-up person for having a different point of view. I appreciate that. We'll take a quick break. Your call's next. 702-257-5396. Number to call. Take a quick break. Be back right after this.
Sometimes you hear an idea or learn about a company and say, finally, it's about time. That's what I said when I met the team at Homey. With Homey, you get a local real estate expert and everything you expect with a traditional agent. Everything except those high fees and commissions. Homey sellers save $10,000 on average. Finally, you can buy and sell confidently and save thousands in good times and bad. Check out Homey.com or just text JD to 88588 to receive $250 off your listing fee. Homey's got your back.
Don't miss the Trading Group Show, Sundays at noon on KDWN. Learn how you can earn a full-time income working from home as a trader. That's the Trading Group Show, Sundays at noon. The question line is 888-646-8787.
Listen to the Texas Corners Bible Church every Saturday night at 11 p.m. and Sunday night at 10 p.m. on 101.5 FM, 720 a.m. KDON.
Are you looking for smoke-free housing? Visit gethealthyclarkcounty.org for a list of 50,000 smoke-free units available.
I'm attorney Paul Powell. A lot of lawyers promise a lot of things. No fee unless we win. The consults are free. Of course they offer that stuff. All lawyers do that. But will they promise not to take
Your
more
home
money
for
than
Sean Hannity. KDWN Las Vegas. KKLZ HD2 Las Vegas. A Beasley Media Group station.
Congressional approval and the expected signature of President Trump. Correspondent Phil Mattingly reports some of the money will go to other targets.
$75 billion for hospitals and healthcare providers, $25 billion for testing and a national testing strategy, more language in terms of how this money would go to the states. Obviously, testing is a huge issue on the national and the state level, so money there as well.
Another 4% of pork production goes offline this week when Tyson Foods idles its virus-riddled plant in Waterloo, Iowa. The mayor is Quentin Hart.
I understand the impact that this has on our national food chain, but in order to be able to stop the spread, this was the best course of action to support the workers that prepare our food.
An increasing number of meat plants in the U.S. have been shut down because of virus outbreaks among the plant workers. I'm Mike Moss. New York State Governor Andrew Cuomo says his state still has problems, but it is continuing to see signs of improvement.
We are actually in a much better place. We're not home yet, but we're in a better place. The really bad news would have been if we concluded that we couldn't control the spread of the virus. That was a possibility. You looked at all those initial projections. How do you know that we could control the spread? We could have done all those close-down measures, and it didn't work.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is accusing China of not living up to its obligations to inform the world about the onset of the outbreak in Wuhan. He says China was late in getting vital information to the United States as well as to the World Health Organization. The president today ordered the Navy to shoot to destroy Iranian gunships that encroach on U.S. warships. I'm Mike Moss.
We have a 12-year-old German Shepherd named Sophie, and she became overweight, stinky, greasy coat, and lifeless almost. Then about 4 years ago, we found out she had several vertebrae fused together. She was unable to walk. The vet told us Sophie was going to have to be euthanized. I thought, I've got to do something. DINOVITE.com. I remember Sophie starting the Dinovite, and she from day one has loved it.
It's time to check the roads.
From the Leonard Road Traffic Studio.
This report sponsored by Upwork when you need in-demand talent on demand. Slowing for the crash on the 215 Southern Beltway eastbound at Decatur. Vehicles off right. The good news there, looks like it's now in the clearing stage. Meanwhile, there is a traffic hazard to watch for. Boulder Highway at Lamb, that may be debris on the highway, and also a traffic hazard reported Tropicana at I-15. Watch for debris or obstruction on the surface streets. Upwork has the world's largest network of independent professionals like designers, developers, data scientists, you name it. When you need in-demand talent on demand, Upwork is how. I'm John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Whether you enjoy classical, rock, or heavy metal, we all march to the beat of our own drummer or guitarist. That's why Views Alto offers you more ways to vape your way. It's available in 5 bold color options, 3 smooth tastes, and 3 nicotine levels. It's your vape, your way. Views, charge beyond. Underage sale prohibited.
I'm attorney Paul Powell. A lot of lawyers promise a lot of things. No fee unless we win. The consults are free. Of course they offer that stuff. All lawyers do that. But will they promise not to take more money than you at the end of your case? No. When you call me, that answer's yes. I'll never take more money than you, and I put it in writing.
Call 728-5500 or go to paulpowell.com.
I really can help.
Paul Powell. More lawyer, less fee.
Some restrictions apply.
A Home for Spot is a nonprofit group of dog lovers whose mission is to rescue, provide sanctuary, and ultimately to rehome abandoned, stray, and neglected dogs. To donate, foster, or adopt, go online to spot.com.
Get the rest you deserve with Helix Sleep. Helix makes personalized mattresses to fit your unique body type and sleep preferences and give you the best sleep of your life. Go to helixsleep.com and get up to $200 off mattress orders.
Hey, Las Vegas, let's face it, banks don't lend money anymore, and payday loan companies charge too much. Nobody has you covered like the DLC with our signature loans up to $5,000 in less than 30 minutes. Really? Dollar Loan Center's been in business for more than 20 years and has over 250,000 customers for a reason. We're quick, inexpensive, safe, regulated, friendly, and have a cool jingle. Your loan company charges too much, and we can't wait to show you how easy it is at the DLC and how much you can save. Get up to $5,000 in minutes without a checking account and absolutely no collateral required like at the other companies. It's 100% free to apply, and there's no penalties if you pay off your loan early. We have over 50 locations and give you up to a year to pay back your loan.
Licensed by the Nevada Financial Institutions Division. Customer must meet the normal loan qualifications. To review loan qualifications, visit us at don'tbebroke.com. Certain limitations may apply. Loans are subject to approval.
These are unprecedented times, which are causing a lot of stress and financial worry for millions of Americans. But here's some good news. If you owe back taxes to the IRS, Optima Tax Relief can reduce the stress in your life by helping you resolve your tax debt right from the safety of your own home. Make no mistake, you don't want to owe the IRS right now. They can take your paycheck and everything you work so hard for. But with Optima on your side, you may qualify for help that saves you thousands. Their tax professionals specialize in the Fresh Start Initiative, one of the biggest breaks the IRS has ever offered. Optima is A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau and has resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for taxpayers across the nation. So now's the time. For tax help you need, for tax help you trust, call Optima now for a free consultation. Call 800-709-6011. That's 800-709-6011. 800-709-6011.
Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
1015 FM, 720 AM. KDON, the talk of Las Vegas. The opinions of the hosts on KDWN are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or Beasley Media Group.
Hello, everyone. This is President Trump, the greatest president in the history of presidents. And the only show I listen to is the top-rated show, Sharp and Shapiro. They are the best.
Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Liberal talk show host Doug Basham coming up at the bottom of the hour, but I did promise I would get to your phone calls. We just had Pam Bennetts on. She was one of the protesters on the Strip, runs the Nevadans Against Extended Quarantine Facebook group. That was a good-spirited, heated debate. It is exactly what I expected, and her answers were exactly what I expected as well. We're taking your phone calls, 702-257-5396. Again, that number to call, 257-5396. I know we got a full board. If the line is busy, please keep trying back. We'll try to get to as many calls as we can in a short period of time. Let's start off with Scott. Scott, thanks for calling into the Vegas Take. What's on your mind, man?
Hey, what's up, Scott?
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Good. What's on your mind?
Doing all right.
Brian, this question specifically for you. I want to know where you'd be comfortable at numbers-wise. You're a guy about numbers.
Sure.
Because right now, the infected versus the population, we're at like 0.00168%. A fraction of a percent of those even infected. Where would you be comfortable at, numbers-wise?
Here's where I'd be comfortable at, and I wouldn't put a number on it. Here's the best way I can answer that question. I will be comfortable when the healthcare professionals in every state, and including the healthcare professionals in the Donald Trump administration, say it is okay. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a healthcare professional. For me to irresponsibly, like some others are doing, and I'm not saying you're doing that, sir, but for people like myself that have a radio show, would go on the air right now and say, well, I think this number is the safe number for people to reopen. To me, I would be extremely irresponsible. I listen to the healthcare professionals. It's how I form my opinions. And, sir, that's the best way I can honestly answer your question.
Okay, because I wouldn't take it as concrete. I would take it as your opinion.
But, Scott, you understand where I'm coming from, right? I mean, sure, I have opinions, and I can throw out a number to you, but I'm not a professional. It'd be like somebody saying, how do you do a radio show and get ratings? If I wasn't in radio, I wouldn't give you an answer. I am in radio, so I would give you an educated, answer because I've been in radio 20 years.
Right. But the issue is, Brian, that's what there's to discuss right now.
What's that, Scott?
I don't think we're going to eradicate this from the planet.
No, we're not.
It's going to be around. I just need
I agree.
to know when we can actually flip the switch.
Scott, I agree.
And even when there's a vaccine, and let's say that's in 12 months or 9 months or 18 months, even when that happens, vaccines usually only work about 40 to 60% to prevent you from getting the virus. Yep. And if this virus is so contagious that one person can infect 2, who infects 8, who infects 16, and then it goes up, then by that logic, Brian, we're going to be sitting here in your apartment for the next 3 years until it's eradicated.
That's not going to happen. Well, no logical person thinks that we're going to be in this situation for 3 years.
If the virus is still running rampant the way that it has, but even if it's on the downswing, at what point, if there's a worry that a tidal wave can occur, or that a second wave in winter, like the head of the CDC apparently just said, can occur, then when do we get out?
Well, but again, it goes back to what I said earlier.
It seems like we have to wait until there's a vaccine, and if that's the case, Las Vegas will no longer exist at that point, Brian.
Again, it goes back to what I just said in my answer. There's not one doctor, there's not one healthcare professional that would agree with you that I've heard that they think we're going to be in quarantine for 3 years. Let's get back to the phone call, 702-257-5396. Let's go to Bill. Bill, you're next up in the Vegas take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Bill?
How you doing? Hey, I got a question. I got a couple questions for you. Are you practicing social distancing right now?
In this specific example, there are 4 people in my kitchen. I was tested for the coronavirus, negative. There are 4 people in my kitchen right now, and we are not 6 feet apart. Now, if you want to compare that to a protest on the Strip with 500 people, you can, sir, with all due respect. But I can also tell you something else.
I'm not talking about protest. I'm just making a point.
For 21 hours, sure, and I'll answer your question.
Situations where people cannot and will not.
We are less than 10 people. We are less than 10 people.
By the way, there's no proof of anything at this point. But
I'm answering your question, sir. There are laws in place that you can't have more than 10 people in one given area. There are 4 people in my kitchen right now.
Well, then if that's actually a law, then they can arrest the people.
Yeah, but they're not doing that. There's an ordinance throughout the country, actually.
And very soon they won't have enough police officers to do that because they're laying them off because they can't pay them.
Okay, so is there anything else you wanted to add to that? Because I'm trying to understand your point.
Yes, there is. No, I'm just saying you're arguing a lot of points, and you don't practice it yourself.
Not true. There's under 10 people in my kitchen. Right now, we are not breaking any rules or regulations. I am arguing the protesters. There were 500 people on the Strip over the weekend that were not practicing social distance. It is a ridiculous analogy. I appreciate your phone call, and I answered your question. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Joey. Joey, you're next up.
What's up, Joey?
Yeah, Brian, with all due respect, man, you need to apologize to that last guest, man. I mean,
first of all, your name is not Joey. Why don't you apologize? Why don't you apologize to this show that you're not using your real name because you're a coward? Why don't you apologize? You're not Joey. Why don't you tell us your real name? No, you're a coward. You're not Joey. Go ahead.
You have to do that when somebody
tell me. Okay, because you started off the call with a lie. So tell us your real name, and then we'll have a conversation.
I'm tired of your kindergarten argument.
And I'm tired of you. Bye-bye. We're going to go to the next caller. 702-257-5396.
Good call, Andre.
I knew Joey sounded suspicious.
Yeah, you're gonna criticize me, yet you're gonna call in and use a different name because you're a coward.
But that's irrelevant, man. That doesn't matter.
Oh, it says a lot about his character.
Who cares that he called in under a different name?
Because he's a coward.
He wanted to make a point. You didn't let him make it.
Well, because
He's
he didn't
right.
give me your real name and don't start off a phone call with a lie.
No, that's a deflection onto something that's totally.
Well, I'll tell you what.
irrelevant
If he calls in with his real name, then I'll give him another opportunity.
His real name's Andre.
Yeah, his name's
and we
Andre.
have him on all the time.
Right, right.
With his real name.
Yeah, he said his name is Joey because he's a coward.
It's
He's
not
a
like we
buffoon.
banned him from the show.
No, I didn't ban him.
Past the
If-
goalie.
I'll tell you what, JD, I'll do this. If he wants to call with his real name
As
and not
Andre?
be a coward,
Okay,
I
there
will
you go.
gladly entertain his
There-
ridiculous phone
there-
call.
There you go, Andre.
There you go. 702. By the way, Andre is the guy that threatened me on social media. So if you want to defend that, JD, go ahead. But he threatened me on social media.
How did he threaten you?
Physically threatened me on social media.
Okay.
So
Andre, don't physically threaten Brian on social media.
well, I'm just telling you, I'm not gonna. I don't tolerate that. 702-257.
And I don't blame you. I wouldn't either.
702. I'm being honest with you. He did
That's
do
fine.
that. 257-5396. Anyway, nobody cares. Let's go to Alex. Alex, you're next up in the Vegas take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Alex?
Hey, good morning. I want to give a shout out and applause to the screener. I believe his name is Sean. What a great guy.
Sean's awesome.
JD and Brian, here, look. Please don't cut me off and don't call me a liar and a buffoon and all that. Whoever.
Well, no, because you're using your real name, Alex, and I respect you for that.
But here we go. I believe that unfortunately our state and our city can really fall apart economically, and that's going to affect a lot of people. If you don't have money to go to the doctor down the line, people are going to die. If they don't have money for their housing, they're going to die. Now, here's the thing. I really believe if you want to resolve this, let's cut out the check for Steve Sisolak and all the government workers that are supporting the closure of the state. If you do that, what you're going to do is you're going to find out a lot of people running into the streets. And we got to freeze, of course, their bank accounts because there are a lot of people that don't have money and they are suffering right now. If you do that to the government workers and the government, and they will, what'll happen is they'll come out and say, hey, we got to open up the state. The second thing, why is Steve Sisolak and anybody, Brian, I think you said at one point your opinion is based on lives, making sure that no one passes away or at least reducing it. So that means that lives is the number one subject. Why is Steve Sisolak and the Democratic Party, which are mostly in favor of keeping the city and the state and the country closed, why are they so in a hurry to support abortions, especially in the late?
All right, I'm not going to talk about abortions because, hold on a second, that's where I'm going to cut you off. No, excuse me, that's where I'm going to cut you off. Abortions have absolutely nothing to do with the coronavirus. You sound like AON, and that's where I cut you off. That's where you lost me. Okay, as far as your point you made about why do, whatever the hell it's called, it's not even a real network. The reason, you mentioned Democrats and all the Democrats, but guess what? There are Republicans and there are Republican governors that are also in favor, not all of them, but some of them that are also in favor of keeping it shut down, including Maryland. The governor of Maryland said himself on national television the other day, we don't have enough tests, and I'm not comfortable reopening the state until we have enough tests.
Do you know why
that is a Republican that said that. So you're thinking
that's because of Baltimore, Brian.
And why do you bring up abortions?
Because Baltimore is a relatively unclean urban area, and he's concerned that it's going to spread rampantly in Baltimore, which is probably a legitimate concern. You don't have that in Las Vegas. Las Vegas is not Baltimore.
The caller wasn't talking about Las Vegas.
Is not. Well, you bring up Maryland. That's why Maryland, the governor of Maryland, would make a statement
caller
like
is.
that.
I agree. I don't doubt that. But the caller is incorrect. It's not just Democrats that want to keep their states shut down.
One thing we're not thinking about here is if we don't have any money to pay for police officers and fire department, and let's say that you lose your job and you don't have health insurance. Okay, fine. You want to go to the hospital for COVID, you'll get that covered. But what about something else? What about any other type of doctor visit that you have? You have to go out of pocket at that point for that. So that's not going to work out. But then you've got a lot of the city of Las Vegas, because it is an open carry state, a lot of the city is armed. And if you have armed citizens and a lack of police officers and a lot of homeless and a lot of unemployed, that is a recipe for disaster, Brian. And that's what we're looking at right now. We're looking at that in the next probably month or two. We're looking at something like that where civil unrest could legitimately be an issue, and we don't have the infrastructure to keep everybody calm, because we have to keep laying off employees, government employees, city employees, state employees, because we have no tax revenue coming.
And of the 3 million people that live in this state, there were a few hundred people that were protesting. So I disagree with you. 702-257-5396
That
is
number
the
is
number
going
to call.
to go up exponentially. Brian.
You're making an assumption, and I don't agree with you. Let's go to Clay. Clay, you're next up on the Vegas take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Clay?
Hi, Sharp and Shapiro. Great show. How are you today?
Doing
Good, man.
well.
What's on your mind, Clay?
Hey, a couple things. You keep mentioning 500 people protesting. Well, I'm calling you from Michigan. And you're going to see about 100,000 people that are going to protest this because we sat there and watched them drive by. This is the epicenter, and 15,000 small businesses here in Michigan that typically, when they have some extra money, will go to Las Vegas and support you all out there. If they don't reopen, you guys don't reopen. So you asked the caller another question. You asked Pam another question. Which official wants to shut it down permanently? Gretchen Whitmer. This was supposed to end in March.
Okay, hold on a second. Let's go with that. Hold on. Let's go with that. No, but hold on. You said something that's not factually accurate. Do you have anything that Whitmore has said on the record where she wants to, for the rest of eternity, be in quarantine? Where did she say that, sir, with all due respect? Where did she say that? Because Pam, excuse me, let's be factually accurate. You're wrong. Pam went on the air and she said for the rest of our lives. So you just claimed Whitmore said that. So I'm asking you a specific question to your claim. Where did Whitmore say that she wants for the rest of our lives to be in quarantine? Just say you're wrong and say you misspoke, and then we can continue the conversation.
Do the words indefinitely mean anything to you?
Okay, then don't make that ridiculous claim. Then don't make that ridiculous claim.
I know the gotcha journalism stuff that you're doing.
It's not gotcha. Okay, hold on. Now I'm going to stop again.
No, it's not.
No,
it's
now I'm
not-
going to stop again.
It's not gotcha, but it is.
No,
It is.
hold
it
on
is-
a second.
It is painting you. It's putting you in a corner.
I was just
so you can say that you're
Excuse
wrong.
me.
So we can kind of.
I was just
create a level up on you.
I was just accused of gotcha journalism. Now I'm going to respond to that so you can get it through your thick head, sir. Okay. And by the way, I'm glad you don't live in. Yeah, that's right. Pot him down. Pot him down. Pot him down. Actually, hang up on the idiot. Hang up on him. He said that I was gotcha journalism because we had a guest on the show that said that Governor Sisolak wanted us in quarantine for eternity. She made a general statement.
I think she was saying we shouldn't be locked down.
She
for
made that
eternity.
claim, and then when
it wasn't perpetuity. It wasn't eternity.
Okay, that's what she said. I'm going by her words.
She said.
and if I could just
She said, "Why would we be locked down for the rest of our lives?"
Okay, and
That's
I
what she
said, name me one politician that wants that, and she couldn't answer the question.
By the way,
hold on. This gentleman just called up and said it was gotcha journalism because he said that Whitmore was doing that, and I said to him, I said a very, very simple question. Can you give me one quote where she says anything even close to that? And he admitted he was wrong and then said it was gotcha journalism. That is a dope, and that's probably the same.
This guy is not a dope. He actually is one of the leaders of the Michigan group that has 400,000.
Why am I not shocked?
No, listen.
Why am I not shocked?
He was one of the guys that actually organized that massive 100,000 person protest
So
in
he's
Michigan.
probably one of those guys with a Confederate flag too. 702 257.
Wait. Hold on. I'm not going to let you do that, Brian. You're saying that if you want to go back to work, you support the Confederate flag right now?
I'm saying if you
because that's basically what you just did.
I'll answer your question. I'm saying if you I was insulting him because I think he's an idiot. If you want to go back to work, and there's I would say 99.9% of us that are unemployed do want to go back to work. That's okay.
Okay.
But if you want to go back to work and you want to put other people's lives at risk and protest, hold on, if I could just finish the answer.
Then you're probably a racist.
If I could just finish the answer, because you're interrupting me. I know you don't like it when I do that to you. If you're one of those people that is protesting and not practicing social distancing like Pam, no, I'm not necessarily saying you're a racist. However, there are some people in Michigan, maybe not him, but I do find people that have the Confederate flag and are racist are ignorant. And I'm saying that guy who just called up is ignorant. That's what I'm saying.
So you're saying that he could possibly, even though you have no evidence whatsoever of this, that he could possibly support the Confederate flag because he's a protester.
No, I'm insulting him.
And he might be racist because, in your opinion, he's ignorant.
Okay, unlike the way you would answer a question like that, and,
makes sense.
and the way you would answer a question like that is, okay.
I understand completely.
Okay, all right. Well, then why are you asking me that?
totally
all right, good. Let's go to our next caller then. I'm glad I don't have to explain. Let's go to Pete. Pete, you're next up in the Vegas take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Pete?
Yeah, hey guys, great show. Love the format.
Thank you.
I agree with you, Brian. Unreal. I do agree with you. When Sisolak first came out and gave his first speech, I thought it was better than any speech our buddy Trump ever did, and I'm a Trump supporter. I thought it was outstanding. I stand by Sisolak. I can't believe I'm saying this.
Well, I'm glad to hear
We
you
gotta
say
get
that.
this guy's name out.
Yeah.
Jim Murren. I want that man in stocks over the Las Vegas Strip on that bridge going from New York to MGM.
Can I ask you a question, Pete?
I've been the MGM for about 3 years. His parking fees, the drink fees, to go see the Stones, you got to pay an extra.
I agree, Pete.
$800 ticket. Screw the MGM. Screw the Strip. We're a petri dish.
Pete, listen, I don't disagree with what you just said. Like you, I'm very frustrated with the ordinances put in place. As locals, Pete, we got to pay to park. It's ridiculous. There's a lot of things they've done. And by the way, Pete, you might not believe this, but I'm not even a huge fan of Governor Sisolak. I'm really just like you. I'm not.
Buddy, both broadcasters. I've been a broadcaster for 38 years.
Well, God bless you, sir.
Congratulations on what you're doing, my friend.
I appreciate you, Pete. And let me just say this. It takes a little bit of fortitude on your part and intellectual honesty to be a Trump supporter and say you still support Sisolak. And I appreciate you for that, Pete.
Oh, my God.
I appreciate you for
Right.
that.
It has nothing to do with Trump.
I appreciate that, Pete. Thank you.
Politics are not part of this equation. Again, if I was a diehard Joe Biden or Bernie Sanders supporter, I would be thinking the exact same thing.
Okay, but you're not. 702-257.
Does that change anything?
There wasn't one Joe Biden.
That changes absolutely. That changes absolutely
You
nothing.
said it's not about politics.
Now, do Trump supporters typically lean more to worrying about the economy than minimizing the death total by itself? Yeah, I would agree with that.
Find me somebody that ever raised a Confederate flag that's a Democrat. 702-257-5396.
You're lumping in the Confederate flag into a protest.
You said it's not about politics. It's not true.
That's totally out of the. No, it may be for a couple of people, but for the majority of people, in my opinion. And I'm not a doctor, so it doesn't matter. I know my opinion doesn't matter because I'm not a doctor. But in my opinion, that these rallies are more about getting our lives back than they are about Donald Trump. They are about the racism or the Ku Klux Klan, as you call the protesters, which is outstanding. Talk about that, Brian.
Sure, I'll gladly do that.
Talk about that.
I'll gladly do that.
Please do it.
Sure. I believe, in my personal opinion, and then we'll get back to the calls, if you are putting your other people's lives at risk, if you are selfish in your behavior, and if you don't care about other people and you just want to protest and disobey the law, you deserve to be mocked. That is my opinion. And in that term, Ku Klux Klan, it is mocking all those protesters across the country that are buffoons. Now, do I think every single one of those protesters are racist? Absolutely not. Do I think every single one of those protesters are Republican? No, probably not. But when you say politics aren't involved, you couldn't find one Joe Biden sign throughout the country with these protests, but you sure saw a lot of Donald Trump signs. So don't tell me it's not about politics. Tell the people that brought their Donald Trump signs it's not about politics. Let's get back to the phone calls. Let's go to George. George, you're next up in the Vegas take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, George?
Hey, Brian, JD, how you guys doing?
Good, man. What's on your mind, George?
Hey, well, first off, thanks for the good format that you have, the giggles that I get throughout the day.
It certainly seems like you're having a lot more fun than we're having, George.
I'm glad someone's laughing. I can say that for a fact.
Go ahead, George.
Now that we got the giggles out of the way, I just want to let you know I'm one of those underlying people. You know, I have to have a kidney transplant. My immune system, pretty much I don't have one. But with that being said, I do believe that we do need to open up the economy and get going. And with that being said, I'm not going to live my life in fear because of the coronavirus. I'm taking every precaution that I can. I wear my mask. I wear gloves. I carry Clorox wipes.
George, can I just add something to that? I'm glad you're doing that, George, but you need to understand, and I think you do, not everyone is as responsible as you. You understand that, right?
No, I understand that, but then it's people like you and JD, and if you want to even go a step further, you know, our politicians and our health and God bless our healthcare workers and our first responders. I have the utmost respect for everything that they're doing, but it's up to us, including you, Brian and JD, to educate our people to do this. You know, and I even do my part. That when I'm driving down the road and if I see somebody like a homeless person or something, I give them some Clorox wipes.
Quickly, George, because I'm up against a hard break. Let me just say this: you strike me as the person that would not be on the strip protesting, correct, and not practicing social distance. You wouldn't do that.
No, you are correct. You are correct. I wouldn't.
Right.
But then again, it is our First Amendment right to go out there and do that.
It's your First Amendment right to protest, but not to put other people in harm's way.
George, let me ask you this. If you got the when you get the flu, are you just as scared to get the flu as you are the coronavirus?
Man, I'm scared to get anything, JD.
Okay.
I mean, even allergy.
Well, George,
You
I
know,
appreciate your phone call, George. Unfortunately, I'm up against a hard break. We want you to stay safe. I'm sorry for the issues you've had with your kidneys, sir. And I
man, it is what it is.
Yeah, well, we hope you stay safe, my friend. You
Yeah,
sound
thanks
like
a lot,
you
George.
sound like a good dude, and I appreciate your phone call. Again, the coronavirus is not the flu. The coronavirus is most likely at least 10 times more lethal than the flu, and I think when it's all said and done, that will be the case. With that being said, if somebody doesn't have a good immune system, of course they don't want to get the flu. The coronavirus is more deadly than the flu. We know that for sure. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, oh boy, we're going to have some fun with this guy. He's the only liberal talk show host in Las Vegas, in the state of Nevada. Raise a little hell. His name is Doug Basham. We'll take more phone calls, by the way, coming up in hour number 3. So stick around, stay on hold. We'll take a quick break. Be back right after this.
We have a 12-year-old German Shepherd named Sophie, and she became overweight, stinky, greasy coat, and lifeless almost. Then about 4 years ago, we found out she had several vertebrae fused together. She was unable to walk. The vet told us Sophie was going to have to be euthanized. I thought, I've got to do something. DINOVITE.com. I remember Sophie starting the Dynovite, and she from day one has loved it. She is no longer stinky. She is full of life. Dynovite healed Sophie. Dynovite is nutrition. I truly recommend that people not wait until the vet recommends euthanasia. You have to get them on Dynovite right away while they're healthy.
Dynovite for life.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
I get my Dynovite from DINOVITE.com.
Update. President Trump once called China transparent in its handling of coronavirus information, but today, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has delivered a strong rebuke.
Even after the CCP did notify the WHO of the coronavirus outbreak, China didn't share all of the information it had. Instead, it covered up how dangerous the disease is. It didn't report sustained human-to-human transmission for a month until it was in every province inside of China. It censored those who tried to warn the world. It ordered a halt to testing of new samples, and it destroyed existing samples.
The New York Times reports U.S. intelligence accuses the Chinese of unleashing a massive disinformation campaign when the virus outbreak began in the U.S., alleging China sent millions of text messages to American phones with false information and distributed false information across social media platforms. I'm Mike Moss.
It's time to check the roads.
From the Leonard Road Traffic Studio.
This report sponsored by Upwork when you need in-demand talent on demand. An accident reported Las Vegas Boulevard just north of Desert Inn Road. Take an alternate to avoid delays like Paradise or Industrial. Police activity still active. Tropicana at Fort Apache. This is for an ongoing police investigation. Avoid the area. You could use Durango, Grand Canyon, Russell, or Flamingo as good alternates to get around that one. No freeway delays to report. Upwork has the world's largest network of independent professionals like designers, developers, data scientists, you name it. When you need in-demand talent on demand, Upwork is how. I'm John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Satisfaction? Simplicity? Performance? When it comes to vaping, we know what matters. At Vuse, we've been pioneering vapor technologies since 2013. All of our liquids are blended in the USA, and our vapor products are only sold through reputable retailers and our website. At Vuse, we charge beyond in what matters to you. Vuse, charge beyond. Underage sale prohibited. Website restricted to age 21 and over tobacco consumers.
No money down to file a bankruptcy? At Fair Fee Legal Services, you can file a bankruptcy for no money down. Keep your car, your house, and everything you own. Stop paying those high-interest credit cards and payday loans. Fair Fee Legal Services will file your bankruptcy for $799 or no money down. Get your life back for no money down.
Net-free, carefree, finally free with Fair Fee. FairFeeLegalServices.com. 702-703-3333.
We've always had villains to face.
But you are the most horrible of all. We all have the power to do something.
To stand up to cancer.
Stand up to fight. Stand up to win. Visit standuptocancer.org to learn more.
SportsX Radio Nation, what's up? It's Ken Thompson, host of SportsX Radio, reminding you to catch me at my new time, 8 to 10 p.m. for all the local Vegas sports coverage, plus the national scene as well. That's SportsX Radio on the new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN.
101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON, the talk of Las Vegas. Mark Levin, weekdays 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. I know we got a lot of people on hold, and we try to get to as many calls as we can. So what we're going to do is coming up in hour number 3, I promise you we will get to more phone calls. If you missed it, we're going to replay our interview. It was a good one. At least I thought it was, JD. I think you would agree with Mayor Carolyn Goodman. We did an interview with her a few days ago. She was just on MSNBC, by the way, yesterday. She was a little bit more calm on national television, but on our show, she got a little fired up, which is good. I don't mind passion, as you know. So we're going to play that coming up in hour number 3. But joining us on the line right now, ladies and gentlemen, he is known as the only liberal talk show host in Nevada, a personal friend. I'm a big fan of his, actually. I like his show. He does it 2 to 4 on KDWN. His name is Doug Basham. Doug, always appreciate it when you join us every Wednesday, my friend. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, sir. It's always my pleasure.
I appreciate it. So Doug, let's start right here, and then I'm going to let you and JD kind of take it away here. I'm really frustrated with some of these protesters, and we had one of them on our show. Her name is Pam Bennetts. She's in an organization called Nevadans Against Extended Quarantine on Facebook, and she made the case that she's defending the fact that she's not practicing social distancing when she protested, as many did across the country. What are your thoughts on these protesters, and do you agree with me that it's irresponsible and it is political because many of these people have Donald Trump signs? What's your take on this?
I agree with you completely. I think it's selfish, and I think it's very politically motivated.
So, JD, you've said on the show, you've said it today, JD, you've said it in the past, that you don't believe these protests are political. Why do you say that, and why do you disagree with Doug?
I'm saying some are, obviously, but I don't think that. I think that when you make the statement that these protests are political, you mean that for everybody they're political.
No, that's not what I said.
And I'm sure that for maybe 15, 20% they are political. But for the majority, they just want to get back to work. They want to get back to their normal life.
It's probably closer to 80, 85.
And I think you're wrong, and that's fine. We can disagree. I'm not going to call you a buffoon or an idiot or a moron. Even though I may think it, I'm not going to call you that openly.
You don't think that about Doug?
I don't. I actually like Doug a lot. I think he's a very smart guy. We just have different ideologies, which I can respect.
Well, what I don't respect is people that put others' lives at risk for their selfish benefit. I call them buffoons, and I think Doug would agree with me on that.
Well, I want to give you a stat, Brian. I know you hate it when I give you stats because I'm not a doctor and I'm not actually qualified to give any stats. But if you're 35 years old, you have a 0.30 chance of dying in the next year. With the coronavirus, that's 0.32. If you're 45 years old, that goes up to 0.60 and 0.75. If you're 55, it goes up to about 0.8 and 1.6. If you're 65, it goes from 1.6 to 3.5. What I'm saying is this is not overly increasing. The mortality rate is not significantly higher than your actual age. And
Doug, what would you say to
the
that?
chance of dying based, like, for example, if you're 95 years old, right, without coronavirus, you have a 26.7% chance of dying in the next year. With coronavirus, it's about 35%. That's across the board. So there's definitely disparity. There's definitely a higher risk here of losing your life to the coronavirus, but it isn't significantly higher than losing your life to anything based on your age group over the course of 1 year.
Doug, what would be your response to that? There are other people on the right that make that same claim. What would be your response to that?
Well, that gets back to yours and my reasoning that these protests are selfish because by and large they're being done by younger people and they could quite possibly be carrying the virus and give it to someone older.
Isn't this ironic too, Doug?
Of course, and again, I'm not sorry, Brian. I'm not suggesting that protests should be done without social distancing. Any protest, and I'm part of this group as well, Doug, and actually part of the group says one statement that was made was, hey, we do not support any protests that don't adhere to social distancing laws.
Well, that's not what Pam did.
Pam mentioned she was the first ever protester. She said that she danced, she ran out there, she was the first one who was out there. That's all she was saying. And that was not this group. That was a totally different group. That was the first. We've started a whole different group that's got almost 4,000 people. I mean, invites that are coming in constantly. But based on this new group, and I do see a protest coming if this is not lifted by May 1st, a big protest, probably in the Las Vegas Strip. But based on this group, I am recommending, and so are the other admins of the page, that social distancing should take place. I'm not suggesting that social distancing should take place, Brian.
Well, Pam defended it.
Far from that's fine, but that's not me.
So, Doug, what do you make of some people like JD, like my co-host, who think that people are going to be out there with their guns, and if in a month from now, if we're still closed down, there's going to be so much outrage that people are going to go against all politicians, and there's going to be hundreds of thousands of people protesting in every state across the country. What do you say to that?
I say the presence of AR-15s and Nazi flags just drive home the point that this is not about the virus or the stay-at-home orders. It's strictly political.
JD, what would you say to that?
If there was not, if all of our lives, if you're in a state that's in lockdown, if you can't go to work and you can't go to the gym and your life hasn't been drastically changed, and for example, if you have 2 kids at home, now they can't go to school, so they're going to be at home for the next 5 or 6 months, and you don't live in a huge place and you're around your spouse more than you ever were in your life. If none of that was taking place, I would agree with you, Doug. But there's a lot of things. But there's a lot of things that are taking place. A lot of lives that are being drastically changed, and the protests are like for me. I'm not trying. For me, it's not political.
Right now, we had an intelligent president in the White House who lived in the real world,
was that necessary?
Not in his own fantasy world, and it was.
Doug, it's hard for me to answer your question, but based on a fantasy hypothetical.
Right.
Okay, so I mean, ask me a question and don't insult Donald Trump in the process, and I will answer it honestly.
Well, it's hard not to.
I agree with that, by the way. Go ahead, Doug.
I mean, considering Donald Trump is the leading cause of death in America right now, I mean, it's hard not to insult him, at least to remain honest. But my point is, let's say Donald Trump was, shall we say, different. I'll leave out the insults, different. And he was ordering everybody to practice social distancing. Do you think these people would be showing up and protesting? No, they're doing it because it's political, because no matter how much Donald Trump advocates social distancing, he turns right around and tweets stuff, liberate Michigan, liberate Minnesota. He's encouraging these people to violate his own guidelines. And if he didn't do that and he stuck to one thing, of which he's incapable, if he stuck to one guidance, and people would not be showing up. It's political.
He is not telling them not to adhere to social distancing. He is saying it is your right to protest, liberate the state. At no point is he saying liberate the state and stand 6 inches away from each other. Stand there holding hands in a giant circle of 100,000 people circling the entire city of Detroit. He's not saying that. He's just saying liberate the state. And I agree with that, Pat. I agree with that, Doug. How can I not?
The thing is, again, you're applying nuance where none exists. Donald Trump doesn't know the meaning of the word nuance, and neither do a lot of his followers. And when he says liberate Michigan, they interpret that as show up and protest. And he even lied in the briefing and said, oh, they were practicing social distancing. They were 6 feet apart. No, they weren't. They were crammed together.
Well, some were and some were. Most of them were actually in cars driving up and down next to the Capitol in Lansing.
Okay, but hold on. Let me interject here real quick. Doug is right in this aspect, JD, and you might disagree, but his words say it all. Doug is right. In the press conference yesterday, Donald Trump said that they were practicing social distancing. He didn't say half were. He didn't say some were. If you look at the videos, in every single protest, in every single one, you can find instances where people were not practicing social distancing. The president is lying, JD.
Again, I believe he said it looked like they were practicing social distancing.
Oh, he's wrong.
It looked like they were practicing social distancing to me is what he said. He didn't say they were absolutely practicing social distancing.
So you're okay with that?
That's the difference without a distinction, JD. Come on.
No, that's mad. I mean, when people like you and Brian take a statement and look for anything you can to dice it up and to make Donald Trump look bad, that's very important.
What part of liberate Michigan do you think helps the country?
It does. I mean, the economy. I mean, you need Michigan. You need the Michigan economy for the country. You need these economies need to be open for the country to be successful, Brian.
The country.
I'm sorry. What?
What is missing is that if you've noticed when Donald Trump has done his press briefings lately, he said, oh, and it was done under pressure. It was done under pressure. Yeah, it was done under pressure because you failed to act when you were advised to. And everybody's squawking about reopening the economy, and no one's saying, well, you know what? Maybe if you had acted on January 23rd, when the WHO issued their guidance regarding isolation, et cetera, instead of going golfing and holding rallies and going to fundraisers and tweeting and watching cable network TV, maybe we wouldn't be in this position now where we have to even have a debate over this.
You know, I believe he was also getting impeached at that time. And Anthony Fauci on January 26th said it wouldn't be an issue. He said the same thing on February 26th. And as you know now,
whom Trump is withdrawing money from.
Yes, he should be doing that. Based on the misinformation from China, he should be doing that. That should be taking place. That's the right decision. All that stuff should be taking place. And he shut down China to what, on the 31st of January?
No, he didn't.
He didn't? I'm pretty sure he did.
No, he didn't. He issued a travel ban that was full of loopholes, and after he issued it, he allowed 40,000 travelers from China to come to this country.
For what reason?
Huh?
Why? For what reason? Why were they able to get through? What was the loophole that they took advantage of?
The travel ban wasn't. I mean, that's his big get-out-of-jail-free card. If you saw that exchange last Monday between CBS White House correspondent Paula Reed and Donald Trump,
I watched it.
He kept going back. I did a ban.
Which he did.
I closed the country down.
He did do a ban.
That was on January 31st.
Let me ask you this: What if he had shut down the economy? What if he had shut down the
January 31st and March 16th?
Doug, two questions. What if he had shut down the economy and it was a massive overreaction, and we'll say 40,000 people less died, and the caseload ended up being 80,000? Do you think that Democrats would have got on him for shutting down the economy and ruining the economy? They would have absolutely done that. My second question is.
Well, let him ask that first one first, and then ask your second one.
Okay.
Go ahead, Doug.
Okay, on January 21st, South Korea and the United States both had their first case. South Korea did not implement a travel ban, but immediately started following the WHO guidelines and isolated and tested. A month later, they had 100 deaths. We had 150. That was on March 20th. A month later, on April 20th, they're only up to 186 deaths, and we have 45,000. So tell me, what worked? South Korea and no travel ban, but isolation and testing, or Donald Trump and his travel ban and nothing else?
JD?
Well, I'd answer that with Mayor Bill de Blasio on March 3rd, suggesting that all New Yorkers actually live your life as usual. That's how I'd answer that question.
Yes, and a lack of national leadership. Everybody was left to fend for themselves and do what they wanted to do, or whatever they thought they should do. We had no national leadership. Bill de Blasio wasn't getting the daily briefings. Donald Trump was.
JD?
Anthony Fauci, the expert on this in the country, as late as January 26th, said nothing to worry about. February 26th, a full month later, when I believe we had 15 entire cases in the country at that point. By the way, Doug, did you see the new autopsy that came out yesterday?
The who?
The autopsy. Remember, the first death was supposed to be February 29th in Washington State? Well, it turns out the first death was actually February 6th in California, and that was probably one of many, because there was 3 autopsies done yesterday in California that showed that there were 3 deaths from February 6th to March 6th. All 3 were communicable diseases. None of these people had actually traveled to China. They had not been out of the country. They had not been around someone who had the virus. So the thought process is, across the country right now, the mortality rate is significantly smaller than what has been discussed. Do you think that we have a problem in Nevada right now? Do you think that Las Vegas has been, quote-unquote, hit hard by this disease, Doug?
Do I think we've been hit hard?
Yes.
No, we haven't.
You haven't. Okay. So do you think
but
that...
I'll tell you what, if we open up, guess who's going to come here?
Who?
The people from around the country.
No, and I agree. If we open up the Strip, that would probably be the case. But you don't think that we should open up the other businesses around the Strip? I'm talking about small businesses, maybe Red Rock Casino, maybe the station, maybe the local business. You don't think that would be a good thing, considering the fact that we're about to lose $1 billion over the next year? Right now, that's the estimation, Doug. $1 billion.
I would go with the medical experts. And if I could just comment on your comments on Dr. Fauci.
Yeah.
I don't understand how what he said at any point negates or nullifies what the WHO guidance was on January 23rd, which Trump ignored.
The WHO didn't even say that it was human-to-human transmissible until the 22nd.
No, that's not what they said.
No, they didn't even say that until the 22nd. And at that point, and Anthony Fauci, at that point, The thought process was that it was not an efficient transmission. That's why Fauci said what he said on the 26th, and that's why he said what he said in February as well, because he was under the impression, based on what China gave the WHO. Remember, China, this country with 2 billion people, 80,000 people and 4,000 deaths. That's like a very, very light, flu season for the United States. If the United States was actually told how many cases were taking place in China and how many deaths had actually happened in China, they would have been much more prepared. And then you have to factor in the fact that the CDC had contaminated the tests.
Dishonesty, which we all agree was taking place. Even Donald Trump reluctantly admits that. That doesn't change the fact that he was being warned by his own people as early as January, and now there's stories coming out that say that he knew in December and November. He wasn't listening to his own people, to his own experts.
Well,
it didn't really matter what China was saying. His own experts were telling him China is lying. This is going to be
again,
serious.
and Anthony Fauci is the expert. And Anthony Fauci,
at that point. At that point in January, there wasn't even a task force. He didn't announce the task force.
You don't think that he had a conversation? You don't think he had a conversation with who they considered the father of infectious diseases and Anthony Fauci? You don't think they had that conversation? Why do you think he's on the task force? Because they were having conversations before that took place. Anthony Fauci he's been involved in SARS, MERS, Ebola.
Fauci is going to be your
AIDS.
scapegoat too.
He's not. What I'm saying is Anthony. I'm saying that Anthony Fauci, who is the infectious disease guy, the expert, he was saying, based on information that he had gotten from WHO and from China, that this disease was not overly efficient in human transmission. That's why Trump thought what he did, because Anthony Fauci, who was the guy, was under the same impression, and he was given false information from China and WHO.
On January 18th, Donald Trump's own Secretary of Health and Human Services, Alex Azar, met with him and told him this was going to be a global pandemic. Trump kept interrupting him and asking when flavored vaping products were going to be back on the market.
Okay, I find that hard to believe, considering
lack of leadership and competence by bringing up Anthony Fauci.
Okay, I find that hard to believe, considering the fact that 4 days after that was when WHO actually admitted that this virus could be transmitted human to human. That's when they finally made a public statement about it. And you know what? China wouldn't even let the CDC come.
Well, answer with this question. Okay. What did Trump do about that?
Within a week, he instituted the travel ban, like I said. There was one case
useless. Because number one, if you go, and I did a whole bit on my show on Saturday when Dr. Fauci complimented Trump on his travel ban. The timeline he was using was the end of December, the 1st of January, when the only cases we knew of were in China. That's not when he implemented his ban. It didn't take effect till February 2nd. And then after he did that ban, he did nothing but hold rallies, go to fundraisers, tweet, lie, et cetera, et cetera. He did nothing until March 16th.
That's because
guidelines.
He and Anthony Fauci were under the impression, and the most important person here is Anthony Fauci. Remember, he's the doctor. No. Again, the thought process.
More concerned about
Doug, the thought process. No, he wasn't. The thought process is that this virus was not efficiently transmissible human to human. Also, the thought process, and this as late as February 14th, WHO made a joint statement with China. And you can look this up if you want to. But the thought process was that not only was the virus not transmissible human to human, but that asymptomatic cases could not transfer the virus, and so which made this virus kind of like a flu, where those who have severe symptoms, those who have severe symptoms,
was not transmissible. On January
yes, they did multiple times.
18th, they said China. Preliminary investigations by China have shown no clear evidence of human-to-human transmission. They didn't endorse, they didn't deny what China said, they just told us what China said.
Okay, so
that's all the WHO can do. They don't have any intelligence agency of their own. They rely on other countries for information.
If someone told me...
2 days after that, on January 23rd, they issued guidelines that said, quote, all countries should be prepared for containment, including active surveillance, early detection, isolation and case management, contact tracing, and prevention of onward spread of COVID-19. End quote. January 23rd was when they issued those guidelines. Trump did nothing.
All right, just quickly, I want to interject. By the way, if you're just joining us, Doug Basham, liberal talk show host, KDWN 2 to 4 p.m. on Saturdays. I think it was just a matter of time before the right went after Dr. Fauci, but let's move on. Doug, I want to get your thoughts on Governor Sisolak yesterday. Obviously, this is the big news in Nevada. My quick thought on it was I think Sisolak is right. He's waiting. He's waiting for the right time, phase 0 to phase 1. Obviously, JD disagrees. We'll get to his opinion in a second. But, Doug, I want to start with you. Your thoughts on that press conference yesterday. Obviously, everybody on the right seems to be going after the governor. All he's simply saying is, I want to wait until it's the right time. What are your thoughts on what took place last night in Carson City?
I'm with you 100% on that, Brian. I mean, I think he did the right thing, and the fact that these people are going after Sisolak just shows me again it's political.
JD, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that Steve Sisolak is on the verge of possibly tanking the entire Las Vegas economy, and I'm not convinced based on his history. Keep in mind, Steve Sisolak in 2012 was involved in a supposed affair. He also sued the McCarran Airport in 2009 for $23 million.
What does that have to do with the press conference last night? You're talking about a possible affair and a lawsuit with McCarran.
I am not convinced that Steve Sisolak,
how much did he pay
based on what I've seen, I'm not convinced that Steve Sisolak has the best interest of the city of Las Vegas at heart.
But you think Donald Trump has the best interest of the country?
Absolutely.
Okay. Doug, go ahead.
Absolutely, I do.
Wow.
That's fine.
You know, it's never good for a talk show host to be speechless, but I'm almost at that point now. I mean, how you can criticize Steve Sisolak and absolve Donald Trump when he is the national leader. This is a national crisis. It requires national leadership. Trump has and still is providing none. His one job is to protect the American people. His one job was to do testing. His one main job, he schlepped off the governors. That is a lack of leadership. That is a lack of competence. That is ineptness. That is Donald Trump.
Let me just interject real quick.
I have to say this here.
Can I just interject real quick, and then you got the floor. Have I brought up Stormy Daniels in this coronavirus pandemic? I haven't, right? Have I brought up the fact, in this coronavirus pandemic that he insults women and that he's a womanizer or whatever you want to call it? Have I brought that up? No. So, and you know how much I can't stand Donald Trump, by the way, JD. But I haven't brought up all of his horrendous things he said and his behavior. I've tried to stay away from that. So my question, why would you bring up Sisolak's possible affair? By the way, you don't even know if that's true. Why would you even bring that into this conversation?
There was definitely an article about it, Brian.
Why would you bring that up? What does that have to do with it?
Because the way you feel about Donald Trump as a human being, I'm starting to feel the same way about Steve Sisolak. You talk about how Donald Trump is a wholly human being all the time, and I'm saying I don't know this for a fact, but I am starting to feel that way about Steve Sisolak.
Well, Doug,
which is again that's totally I'm entitled to that. That is my opinion and my right. And Doug, if you're telling me that going on a national stage in front of 10 to 15 million people every single day for 90 minutes is not leadership, I don't know what is.
Oh, for God's sake, it would be leadership if he stuck to the topic of the coronavirus.
He typically does.
He wasted 10 minutes the other day on a story about Mark Meadows crying. I mean, here's what I don't understand. You're saying that his appearances on these briefings are showing leadership. I disagree 110%.
And that's fine.
These are supposed to be coronavirus briefings. Donald Trump gets up there, and every day it's the same thing. I did this better than anyone's ever done before. I mean, the insufferable narcissism, the textbook sociopathy, the fact that he has to make everything about himself. He cannot mention another leader's name without saying, he's a friend of mine. I mean, this needy, pathetic narcissism. And first of all, they're not his friends. Even Britain's Trump, Boris, laughed at him at the last meeting of world leaders. They all know he's a buffoon. And what I don't understand is how someone can watch him get up there at these virus briefings, turn them into one of his rallies, and see, I don't know, this narcissism, and he has to make it all about him. Oh, the testing has nothing to do with Republican and Democratic governors not having the proper testing materials. They're just out to get me.
Well, I suppose
everything is me, I, me with this, and that's not leadership. That is pathetic, needy narcissism.
I suppose Kanye West could get up there and hold a coronavirus press briefing as well, but I'm not sure people would call that leadership either. I think anybody could go up there on a stage and make it about themselves. But you know what, Doug? I want to make this next minute about you, my friend. Talk a little bit about your show every Saturday, and I'm a big fan of it myself. I listen to it every week. Tell me a little bit about your show and what you got planned for this weekend.
Well, that's a good question. Actually, one of the things I'm thinking of focusing on was his second run-in with another CBS reporter, and I'm not going to try and pronounce her name right now. It's Waikij Yang or something.
It's a tough one.
I
Yeah,
don't
it's a
have it
tough
in front of me. It's a
No, she
strange
did a great
name.
job. She did a great job. I agree.
The whole point is, and this is what every reporter should say to Donald Trump. Everybody says, I did a ban. I did a ban. This is like, first of all, your ban was full of loopholes. You still allowed 40,000 people to come here, and you did that the end of January.
Yeah.
Paula Reed tried to get him to focus on February, and he wouldn't.
You're not going to get an argument from me, Doug. You're not going to get an argument from me. I know we agree on a lot, just about everything. Doug Basham, always appreciate it when you take some time to join us. It's always a good spirited debate with my co-host, J.D. Sharp, and I appreciate you, my man. I look forward to your show on Saturday. Thanks for coming on.
Always my pleasure, guys. Be safe.
Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Doug. That is Doug Basham. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, Ainsley Earnhardt, is that her name? I don't know. She's a dope. I'll explain why coming up. She said something really stupid on Fox News. You're not going to believe what the Texas Lieutenant Governor said, or maybe you will. I don't know. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll also take more of your phone calls. 702-257-5396. Again, that number, 257-5396. Take a quick break. Be back right after this. You're listening to The Vegas Take.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit beefy, or even with type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Affordable term life insurance is out there. Call Term Provider and speak with Big Lou at 800-481-1458. 800-481-1458 or visit biglou.com. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too.
If you have a problem with your teeth and don't know what to do, pick up the phone and call AQ. AQ Denture and Implant Center has built a strong reputation by delivering affordable quality in a timely manner. AQ Dental offers you complete dentistry, including crowns, bridges, relines, dentures, and denture repairs. All the work is created on-site at AQ Dental by their trained lab technicians. Call today and set your appointment at 565-6000. If you have a problem with your dentures and you don't know what to do, pick up the phone and call AQ. 702-565-6000.
Your home for Sean Hannity, KDWN Las Vegas, KKLZ HD2 Las Vegas, a Beasley Media Group station.
Special report coronavirus update. A blistering new report accusing Health Secretary Alex Azar of mismanaging the coronavirus outbreak from the very start. The latest from correspondent Jeff McKay.
The Wall Street Journal reports that on January 29th, Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar told President Trump the coronavirus epidemic was under control. When it came to testing, it's reported Azar cut off CDC Director Robert Redfield in a meeting, alleging that more than 1 million tests would be available within weeks. 6 weeks after that January 29th meeting, the government declared a national emergency, and the Journal says at that point, Azar, who had been at the center of decision-making from the onset, was sidelined.
There is some good news today. Auto sales in the U.S. are beginning to recover from that massive slump in March due to the outbreak of the coronavirus. J.D. Power reports auto sales stabilized during the first 2 weeks in April and are now showing signs of recovery. I'm Mike Moss. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo says his state no longer needs the assistance of the Navy hospital ship Comfort, and he says the president has told him the federal government will waive New York's fees for FEMA.
New York had the highest number of coronavirus cases in the country. Therefore, our cost of FEMA was the highest cost in the nation, and therefore New York should pay the highest amount. How ironically cruel would that be?
The president says he has given the Navy the order to shoot to destroy if any Iranian gunboats get dangerously close to U.S. warships. Iran says the U.S. should spend its time trying to protect its sailors from the coronavirus. An appeals court today granting Arkansas permission to suspend most surgical abortions during the coronavirus pandemic. On Wall Street, the Dow is up about 450. I'm Mike Moss.
It's time to check the roads.
From the Letterman Road Traffic Studio.
This report sponsored by Upwork when you need in-demand talent on demand. A crash still active on Las Vegas Boulevard, north of Desert Inn at Elvis Presley Boulevard. Expect slowing to take an alternate like Paradise or Industrial instead. No other accidents to report and delay-free on the resort corridor. Light to moderate volume on I-15 between the Spaghetti Bowl and Tropicana. Upwork has the world's largest network of independent professionals like designers, developers, data scientists, you name it. When you need in-demand talent on demand, Upwork is how. I'm John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
Please listen. This is important. Anyone can be affected by the prescription opioid crisis. If you think you've been hurt by Purdue or its prescription opioids like OxyContin, you may be entitled to compensation as part of Purdue's bankruptcy, but you have to file a claim. Claims may include overdose, death, substance use disorder, lost wages, and neonatal abstinence syndrome. A confidential claim can be filed by individuals, a legal guardian, by survivors or relatives of people who have died or are disabled. The deadline to file a claim is June 30th, 2020, or you will lose your right to file a claim. For more information, visit PurduePharmaClaims.com, or you can call toll-free 1-844-217-0912. That's 1-844-217-0912. Paid for by Prime Clerk, LLC.
Get the rest you deserve with Helix Sleep. Helix makes personalized mattresses to fit your unique body type and sleep preferences and give you the best sleep of your life. Go to helixsleep.com and get up to $200 off mattress orders.
Sometimes you hear an idea or learn about a company and say, finally, it's about time. That's what I said when I met the team at Homey. With Homey, you get a local real estate expert and everything you expect with a traditional agent. Everything except those high fees and commissions. Homey sellers save $10,000 on average. Finally, you can buy and sell confidently and save thousands in good times and bad. Check out homey.com or just text JD to 88588 to receive $250 off your listing fee. Homey sellers save $10,000 on average, and if you're buying a home, you'll save even more. Remember, you still get a 5-star experience with your local Homey agent and an easy-to-use app, all without the crazy commissions. Text JD to 88588 to receive $250 off your listing fee. Again, text JD to 88588. Finally, you can buy and sell confidently and save thousands in good times and bad. Homey's got your back.
Can a tree change a life? At Trees for the Future, we believe trees make all the difference in the fight against poverty, hunger, and climate change. Through a proven permaculture method called the Forest Garden Approach, Trees for the Future has positively impacted over 26,000 farmers and their children. Are you ready to leave a lasting impact on the world? Find out how to plant seeds of hope this season at trees.org/radio. That's trees.org/radio.
Join Coach Harvey Hyde and Chuck Hayes Saturday evenings from 9 to 10 p.m. for Trojan Football Report, presented by South Point Hotel and Casino, here on 101.5 FM and 720 AM KDWN, where Las Vegas comes to talk.
After 40 years of serving Las Vegas, Ricardo's is continuing to serve Las Vegas with to-go, pickup or curbside, delivery through DoorDash, Grubhub, Uber, and Postmates. Northwest corner of Flamingo and Decatur. Ricardo's of LasVegas.com. We look forward to being in service to you.
101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON, the talk of Las Vegas. The opinions of the hosts on KDWN are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or Beasley Media Group.
Hello, everyone. This is President Trump, the greatest president in the history of presidents. And the only show I listen to is the top-rated show, Sharp and Shapiro. They are the best.
Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro, hour number 3. You're going to hear our interview with Mayor Carolyn Goodman coming up here at the bottom of the hour. Those of you that are on hold, we'll get to your phone calls in a sec here. A few phone lines open at 702-257-5396. I want to start with Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, who is just an absolute buffoon as far as I'm concerned. He went on the Tucker Carlson show yesterday, not a shocker, and he justified reopening the economy. Have a listen to this.
We're crushing small business. We're crushing the markets. We're crushing this country. And what I said when I was with you that night, there are more important things than living.
There are more important things than living. I think somebody crushed his brain cells. That's what I think. Let me repeat that again. This is the lieutenant governor of Texas who just said, quote, there are more important things than living. Well, please name me one more important thing than that, than your heart beating. What an idiot. Again, this is the lieutenant governor of Texas.
Yeah, certainly a poor choice of words there, but he's
just a little bit.
He's very, and again, I'm obviously, I think the same way he does. Outside of the fact that there's more important things than living, that's rough. But no, we are crushing small businesses.
JD, even you can't.
And we are crushing the economy, especially the Las Vegas economy, which I've said at least 150 times down last week.
We can have a debate on that. That's fine.
No,
but
great.
But how do you go on a JD?
I mean, you can't.
How do you go on a national television show and say there's more important things than living?
The answer is you can't.
Imagine what he says behind closed doors. Okay, can I ask you a question? Honestly,
I'm very disappointed in what he said.
What would you have said if Governor Sisolak? What would your Facebook quarantine committee say?
Again, it's a Nevadans against.
I understand what it is.
Extended quarantine is the
shameless plug. I understand,
and it's based on the quarantine.
That's not what
going further than May 1st.
What would you have said if Governor Sisolak in the press conference yesterday, or if he did an appearance on MSNBC and he said, "There's more important things than living"? Would your response have been, "Well, it was probably a bad choice of words," or would you have gone on a little bit there?
I just did go on. I just said he can't say that.
Well, yes.
I said I'm disappointed that he said that.
All right. I think you understand my question, but I think Republicans would have just blasted
I wouldn't have called him a buffoon or an idiot or
a
moron.
I think he is. Anyone who says that,
I'm saying if Sisolak said that, I wouldn't have called him a buffoon, an idiot, or a moron.
I would.
Of course you would.
I would.
That's because that's what you do.
Yeah. Well,
I don't do that. Now I'm disappointed because I thought the thing he said before was actually made more sense than what he made a statement before that I would sacrifice that I would sacrifice my life for the economy, and I think that there's some nobility to that, but saying there's more important things than living is pretty hard to defend.
Stein just said porn is more important than him living. He just sent me a note and he said that. Yeah, so you might have a point there. All right, well, Fox and Friends host Ainsley Earnhardt, or as I like to call her, Ainsley Airhead.
Of course you do.
She said some things before on Fox and Friends that I think are just completely idiotic and ridiculous. I think she's a dope. And, she talks about doing her hair and doing her nails, and she says that on national television. Well, let's find out what her concern is about the Trump immigration plan. It's not about these immigrants. It's not about these people. This is what. Hold on, Stan. Go ahead.
No, just the immigration plan. JD, in a nutshell, what is that? What did Trump do? He banned everybody from every country from coming in. The recent immigration plan from Trump?
Yes. No, it's a 60-day temporary suspension on all immigration, which actually makes a lot of sense because you don't want I think this is a start of probably widespread national testing for antibodies. So you find out who actually has the virus in the United States. Yeah. You don't let more people in. And at the same time, it's actually kind of an interesting move because very soon I believe he's going to go after those who are employing undocumented or illegal immigrants and giving those jobs to natural citizens or to citizens, which I agree with.
So this is what Fox and Friends host
big nutshell.
This is what Fox and Friends host Ainsley Airhead said on Fox News about this. Have a listen to this.
Many families here, including mine, we have au pairs, and we rely on them. I go to work at 3 o'clock in the morning, so I need her there, and I need her in my house so that she can help me with my daughter. So many families rely on childcare from other countries. These au pairs come here on work visas. They have to go back to their country to get the visas renewed, and we've been talking in my house about how that's going to happen. So these are all things, these are questions that we have that hopefully the president will roll out a plan, and we'll all be informed on how this is going to affect all of our lives.
What a dope. What
completely.
Even JD isn't.
Well, I had an au pair, and she was of similar origins to what Ainsley Earhardt is discussing, but you can't make this about race. Now, do families need to have au pairs for very rambunctious kids if you're busy? I mean, if you go to work at 3 o'clock in the morning, yeah, you do need to have that. But associating race with that, or by mentioning that they're from different countries, to me, and especially, I think you're kind of implying that you hire illegal immigrants to watch your kids. Right? I think that's what's going on there.
Well, the other thing is completely out of touch. And Fox News is supposed to be the network that's in touch with the common person. What happened to the 15-year-old next door that babysits your kids while that's what people have to do when they need people, really working people who need childcare. They have to hire the kid next door or something. This woman has she didn't even say nanny. She said au pair. I mean, that is
Just a
for
complete
me.
idiot.
What struck me about that is how out of touch
so
it was.
I'm guessing she makes what, $2 million a year?
Sure,
She probably has a very, very nice home. Usually an au pair actually lives
Well,
inside.
regardless, she could have a $30 million home.
That's a big deal. You have to have an actual room for your au pair in your house so that they can be there 24/7.
Can we all agree she's an
It's
idiot?
not a nanny. A nanny is from 9, from 9 to 5. An au pair actually lives with you, Brian.
I get it, JD, but just as egregious
But
as...
the problem is she associated race with it.
Well, because she's an idiot. That's why. She's on national television, and she's an idiot.
Again,
she was telling the truth.
Questionable.
Well, she's an idiot. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Why don't we get back to our busy phone calls? Let's go to Andy. Andy, you're first up on here on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Andy?
Good afternoon. Usually I agree with you, but let me ask you a favor, man. I would ask you, JD, to stop feeding into the narrative because you're feeding into it. That these people who actually want to shut down the country and want to keep the country shut down possibly till December are looking out in the best interest and are really concerned with American lives. The whole purpose is with the hopes that it damages Donald Trump and he doesn't
So
get reelected.
So ridiculous. So
Okay.
laughable.
No, I do
So
think I'm not pushing any narrative. I do think it's political, and I think it's interesting that again Nevada is doing an all mail ballot on June 9th. I think that's I think a lot of Democratic states. I think we're going to see this happen. That a lot of these states are going to try to push this as far as they can because they actually do believe that it hurts Donald Trump. But the fact of the matter is, Trump already made this. He already made this happen by turning all the control over from him onto the governors. The governors, I mean, if they're going to ruin their own economy, that is on them, and that's why Donald Trump said what he said last
Let me
week.
respond to this right-wing buffoon. First of all, you couldn't name one governor or one politician that has openly said that they want everything shut down until December. That is a gross, that is something that you said that is completely 100% not true. You know, these people, they call up the Democrats, they want it closed for eternity. They want it closed till December. You couldn't name one person in office that has made a statement like that. And what a shocker that he would call in and say something like that. 702-257-5396.
Very good call, Andy.
It was a horrible call. 702-257-5396. We want the Democrats. They want it closed for eternity. They want to hurt our economy. They want to purposely hurt us.
No, but you
Just a bunch of dopes that
can't
think
say
like
that if this virus goes on for 3 to 6 more months, and you've got 20 Republican states open and no Democratic states, and these Democratic states are destroying their economy by not staying open, or by not becoming open, which will absolutely happen. It'll happen in Nevada, it'll happen in California, it'll happen in a lot of different states. You can't tell me that the media would not make an effort at that point to say that Donald Trump's economy is not good.
Well, you said you said here's what you can't say.
They would definitely do that.
Here's what you can't say, something that is not true. The caller just called in and said something that is not true. There is literally not one politician on the record that said they want everything shut down until December. He said something that is just simply not true. What a shocker. Let's go back to the phone calls.
But what Democratic politicians have said is that we don't want things opened up until there is a vaccine, and that could be June of next year.
Sisolak has not said that.
Okay.
He has not said that on the record.
You're right. Sisolak has not made that statement.
What Democratic governor said we are not reopening until a vaccine?
Gavin Newsom has made the statement that
he said specifically that we are not going to reopen the state until we have a vaccine.
Gavin Newsom
I don't recall him ever saying that.
has made statements around not opening up until there is a vaccine.
Okay, well, quote me that statement where he said that, and then we can discuss it, because I haven't seen him ever say anything like that, nor have I heard any Democratic governor say that.
It doesn't mean that it didn't take place.
Well, if you can't find me a quote, then we have no evidence that they said it.
I just told you.
Well, then give me the quote. Get me the audio. Tell me. I've never heard him say anything.
So now, based on this organic conversation, I'm supposed to come up with audio. Hey, Stein, get me audio.
Okay. Well,
come on, bro.
Find me the article. When did he say that?
Find the article where? On my phone?
Do you know when he said that?
Want to give me 2 minutes while we just wait so I find this article?
No, I'm going to take the next caller.
Then take my word for it.
I'm going to take the next caller. I've never heard him say that before. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. I believe Keone is next. Keone, what's going on?
Hey, what's up, Keone?
Hey, good morning, JD. Hey, Brian, can I ask you a question?
You could ask me anything you like, even about my sex life, sir. I'll answer it.
So
go ahead, ask about his sex life.
Okay, so my company, there's 80 of us driver. We're down to 20 people, 20 drivers right now.
Yes, sir.
And I'm still working because it goes by seniority.
Yes, sir. Yep.
So a lot of my friends, a lot of us, we work a lot of overtime and we make over $100,000 a year. We're not qualified for the money that the government is giving us. And we can't even get to a lot of my driver
Right.
friends, they can't.
Sir, are you a bus driver? I just want to understand, sir. I just want to understand exactly what you do. You're a bus driver. Is that what you are?
No.
What kind
I'm
of
a truck
driver?
driver.
Okay, I just wanted to. Okay, I just wanted to be clear. Go ahead. Go ahead.
We all work for Cisco Las Vegas.
Gotcha.
And I'm still working right now.
Yep.
But what do you say to some of my drivers? They're going crazy. They want to go back to work.
Yeah.
And they have kids. They have
Sure. That's a valid question. Yeah. Let me stay on the line. Let me speak to that. And it's a very good question. Here's what I would say to them. I have deep compassion for not just the truck drivers that you work with, but every single person in this city, the good people that are unable to work, that are hurting. Obviously, number one, and I know it's not a perfect system, and I'm sure you would agree, you have to file for unemployment benefits. And I know that some people still have not been helped. That's inexcusable. But you have to file for unemployment. That's number one. If you have a job, you will get unemployment. That's number one. Is it enough to be rich? No, but it's enough to probably get you by, at least till this is over with. That's number one. Number two, you should have received a stimulus check. If you didn't receive a stimulus check, that's on the government. Those are the first two things you absolutely have to do. And the third thing I would say is this. Go ahead.
But we can't qualify because we make more money, more than 180 put together with our salary.
Well, I'm confused.
We're not qualified.
I'm confused. You're saying you're making over $75,000 a year?
No, our salary. A lot of us we make over 100,000 a year.
Okay, so I have to ask you this.
I
have to ask you this question, and I don't mean it to be disrespectful, because, like I said, I really do have compassion. If you're making over $100,000 a year, why do you have zero money? I mean, there has to be some personal responsibility there. Do you think I'm wrong in asking that question? I think it's a fair question. If you're making six figures a year, right?
We do have money, but what I'm saying is
right.
we need to go back to work.
Well, of course, we all. Listen, I totally understand your sentiment, sir. I get it. We're all frustrated. I'm with you. The point I try to make on this show every day, I really do, and I've been doing it for a month and a half, and you can disagree with me, that's fine. While I want people to get back to work, I don't want small businesses to be ruined. I don't want people's lives to be ruined, but you know what else I don't want, which should be ahead of that priority? I don't want people dead. I don't want people sick. So my advice is try to remain calm, try to be patient, try to conserve your money, try to practice social distancing, and let's hope that within a few weeks or at least a month, people will be able to go back to work. I mean, there's no easy answer to this that's going to make you feel better, sir, sadly. 257-5396 is the number to call. All right, we got to go to this guy because he joins us every Monday. His name is Chris William Wynn. C. Wynn, what's going on?
What's up, Dubs?
What's going on, Brian? What's up, JD?
Obviously,
I'm a native Michigander, so I
Yep.
wanted to call in to respond to that caller that was from my home state.
Clay.
You guys
Clay.
were talking with Doug about the situation as far as these protests going on and what the consistency is, what the percentages are of people. JD, did I hear you correctly? Because I almost drove off the road, and I'm not even in the car right now, when I heard you say that it's only 15 to 20% of the people at these protests are Trump supporters or on the right. Did I hear you correctly?
Yeah, I said that it's not political for everybody. My guess is it's 80 to 20. 80-20 want to get back to work, 20 Trump. And there's no Biden, there's no Bernie Sanders because Sanders is out of the race, but Biden isn't very popular. That's why you're not going to see any. Now, you could see some Biden flags or something, or you could see some Biden signs in Nevada. I'm telling you, I think, Chris, there's going to be a 10,000 person plus protest, hopefully with everybody adhering to social distancing. Not because I think they need to, because I think they should. But I think that's going to take place in the near future.
Go ahead, Chris.
All right.
Probably like May 2nd.
JD, now, as you can imagine, I'm going to absolutely disagree
That's
with
perfect.
you because it's absolutely not correct that it's 15 to 20%. In fact, it's not even what Doug Basham said, which is 80%. I put it at 98% of the people that are at those protests. And the only reason I'm saying it's not 100% is because, there's probably maybe one or two or a couple people, outliers that are on the left. And there's a reason why I say that. Let me give you the reason real quick. I'm going to tell you why I say it's 98%. Because think about it. I'm on social media all day long. I'm watching television. I'm listening to the radio. I haven't heard or seen one person, not one, that has come out and said, you know what, I'm a Bernie supporter, or I'm a Biden supporter, or I'm on the left, or I have that type of ideology at any of these protests.
Let me ask you this: Do you think
saying
that
15 to 20% is completely
okay?
It doesn't make any sense.
Do you think that that's because a lot of Bernie supporters and Biden supporters are okay with not working and getting paid by the government to sit at home? Because I think that's part of it too. Then you got to factor that in as well.
No, I don't think.
I think a lot of Bernie Sanders supporters are extremely happy with what's going on. This is, you know who this is the worst for? This is the worst for people like me, for hustlers, for entrepreneurs. It's not for someone who wants to get paid by the government and who wants to be controlled by the government, because that's what this comes down to. If you're making right now, no, it is a thing. It is a thing, Chris. It is definitely a thing.
Go ahead, Chris.
I believe that the people that support Bernie Sanders are very, very okay with. I mean, because that's what socialism is. It's a government controlling everything. So I think that they're very okay with what's happening right now, which is literally getting paid to sit at home and do nothing.
Go ahead, Chris. We'll let you respond, Chris, and then we got to get to other calls. Go ahead, Chris.
Okay. Yep.
Go ahead.
I can't believe that you're saying that. You're acting like it's some type of majority of people that just want to stay home. And, if they have the option of collecting unemployment, they do that. I mean, that's absolutely not the case. The massive majority of this country is in the same. First of all, we're all in the same boat. Everybody wants to get back to opening society up. I don't understand why there's for people out there, they think they have a monopoly. These people that are protesting, they think they have the corner market on people on wanting to get back to work. We all want to get back to work. The difference, though, is that most of us want to get back to work in a safe and proper manner. That is what we're concerned about. Not
okay, Chris. Let's say that you're at let's say you're at a telemarketing company and you've got a cubicle with a space in between it 10 feet away from somebody else, and you're wearing a mask. Are you safe at that point?
I think
you are,
You're
exactly.
using anecdotal evidence, yeah, but yeah,
it's not anecdotal. I mean, that's just a hypothetical scenario.
Yeah, you're mentioning one specific situation.
All right,
we're talking about a problem that's nationwide and global.
All right, Chris. Now, what if you're at a grocery store and there is nothing in between you, and you're 2 feet away from the person that you're handing your money to pay for your groceries? Is that safe? And you're talking to them because they tell you they tell you your total. You say okay. You say whatever. You have a very brief conversation. Is that safe?
All right, we got to get to some other calls. 702.
Good call, Chris.
702. Thanks, Chris, for the phone call. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Who's our next caller here? Let's find out. Let's go to John. John, you're next up in the Vegas take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, John?
Hey, man. Hey, Brian. I've got a homework assignment for you, buddy.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
If you want to understand these protests, listen to a podcast called The Daily today, and it explains it all. Chris is absolutely right. These protests are all political, and
well, John, I agree with you. John, I agree. I don't need to listen to the podcast. I agree with you 100%.
It goes into detail. Yeah, I know you do, but it goes into. It's just phenomenal. Listen to The Daily. It's all political.
Yeah, John, you're right. And John, Chris made up a good point. Our last caller. Have you seen one protester across the country that said he or she was a Democrat? One protester that had a Biden sign or a Bernie sign, right? The answer is no, right?
Absolutely not. It's no coincidence the guy from Michigan called, and it's no coincidence that Trump sent out the liberate tweet. So,
right.
But the reason I called is JD.
Hey, what's up, John? How are you?
I'm going to ask you a personal
hey,
question.
Don't get too personal. Don't get too personal, but you can get kind of personal. That's fine.
Okay.
I wear a size 13 shoe. That's it. I'm done. Okay, what is it?
But I got to tell you, man, when you make these ad hominem attacks at Sisolak, it really turns me off.
That's fine.
It makes me wonder. It makes me wonder about you. Like, what is your position? I know you had an au pair, but I mean, like, are you the money guy behind the show? Are you guy that buys the airtime? Are you set to profit greatly if we open up the Strip? I just want to know where you're coming from.
My position is that Las Vegas. I moved here 3 years ago from Omaha, Nebraska, and my position is that Las Vegas is the best place in the world to live. There's nothing like it, and what it was, I want it to be able to at least get to 80 to 90%, back to what it was. And right now, with what's going on, I don't think that's the case. I'm looking at what's happening with unemployment. I know for a fact that the police officers are being laid off, that the same thing will happen with hospitals. The same thing will happen with a lot of city and state employees. And then I also know that it's an open carry state. There's a lot of homeless here already. There's a lot of drug activity here already, and people are armed. And that combination of homelessness and unemployment and weapons and police officers being laid off, to me, it leads to a recipe of disaster. And John, I actually think that Las Vegas will be the first city in the country to go against their own governor's orders.
John, I'll give you the last word here. I got about 30 seconds for you, man, because I'm up against a break. Go ahead.
Yep.
You didn't really answer the question. You just incited fear. So
I didn't incite fear at all.
You're questioning whether or not Sisolak profits from this. I'm wondering how much you would profit if the strip was open. That's all, buddy.
Oh, that's fine. That's fair. My profiting. Well, honestly, if I do bet a lot of sports, so I would like sports to be back, but that's not even based on Las Vegas. I mean, we obviously have the Raiders here and the Aces and the Golden Knights, but I want sports to be back in general. I just want. I love Las Vegas, and it's not about making a lot of money based on the strip being open. It's about saving the city of Las Vegas, because again, I think that it's in real trouble based on what's going on.
John, I appreciate the phone call, but listen,
good call, John.
I had a problem with JD going after the governor as well for a supposed affair. Or
it's not a supposed affair. I mean, and
just because somebody wrote an article about it doesn't mean it's true. We got to take a
lawsuit was filed in 2012.
Okay, well, we'll have plenty of more time to discuss this, but coming up next, we had a chance to catch up with Mayor Carolyn Goodman. And I promise you don't want to miss this, because she's going to be coming up next, going to be asking her all the questions, why she disagrees with Steve Sisolak, why does she want the strip to reopen. All those questions are coming up next. You're going to hear it from Mayor Carolyn Goodman herself coming up next. We'll take a quick break. Mayor Carolyn Goodman coming up next, right here on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit beefy, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-590-7516. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-590-7516. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-590-7516. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds, too. Call 800-590-7516. 800-590-7516.
Coronavirus update. I'm Christopher Cruz. A Navy hospital ship deployed to New York City to help fight the coronavirus outbreak is no longer needed. That's the word today from New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. It's a sign that stress on the state's hospital system is easing. But Cuomo said it is not yet the time to let up on restrictions.
We get reckless today. There are a lot of contacts today, unprotected contacts today. You'll see that hospitalization rate go up.
The House of Representatives this week to vote on $484 billion in new funding for small businesses and hospitals. The Senate unanimously approved the legislation yesterday. Capitol Hill correspondent Phil Mattingly.
An additional $310 billion, which should be good news for the thousands of people that had applications that were essentially waiting in the queue if it had even gotten that far.
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell today said there should be a pause on any more federal spending. He's worried about the increasing national debt. I'm Christopher Cruz.
It's time to check the roads.
From the Letterman Road Traffic Studio. This report sponsored by D.R. Horton. The accident Las Vegas Boulevard at Elvis Presley Boulevard now in the final clearing stage. May already be cleared by now. And now reports of another crash. This is going to be in the Lower Valley on Blue Diamond, affecting westbound just west of Cimarron. That's blocking right now with police at the scene. You can take an alternate like Mountain's Edge Parkway or Gomer to get around that one. No other accidents to report. D.R. Horton's new home community, Blue Nile Trails, now open in the Southwest. Visit drhorton.com to schedule a private in-person or video tour today. D.R. Horton, America's builder and equal housing opportunity builder. I'm John Michaels from the KDAWN Traffic Center.
Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Whether you enjoy classical, rock, or heavy metal, we all march to the beat of our own drummer or guitarist. That's why Views also offers you more ways to vape your way. It's available in 5 bold color options, 3 smooth tastes, and 3 nicotine levels. It's your vape, your way. Views, charge beyond. Underage sale prohibited.
As a woman and a mom, sometimes you just have to take a stand. Take Dan Rodheimer, who's running for Congress. You kidding me? Rodheimer's violent criminal record is an immediate disqualifier. Rodheimer has been arrested for violent assaults 3 times. In one case, Rodheimer admitted guilt to battery. Another Rodheimer attack was so horrific, his victim had intracranial bleeding. A witness at one attack told police Rodheimer bragged he'd like to hurt people. And an arrest warrant described Rodheimer as armed or dangerous. But there's more. A police report detailed Rodheimer's harassment of a teenage girl, while another exposed Rodheimer was investigated for a domestic incident. It's bad enough Rodheimer was sued for forgery, fraud, and for not paying his taxes. But violent assaults and harassing women? That's unforgivable. Paid for and authorized by friends of Dan Schwartz.
I'm Dan Schwartz, candidate for Congress, and I approve this message.
1015 FM, 720 AM, KDON, the talk of Las Vegas. Mark Levin, weekdays 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 1015 FM, 720 AM, KDON.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take Show. Shapiro, so glad you could join us on a Wednesday. Now, Vegas makes national news, obviously. It always does, right? I mean, everything happens in this city. It's one of the most popular destinations in the world. So Carolyn Goodman, the mayor of Las Vegas, has been making the rounds. She went on MSNBC yesterday, and part of the reason why she made national news, not just because, this is Las Vegas, because Oscar Goodman made national news all the time, too. I remember the statements he made about Barack Obama back in the day. That made national news. But part of the reason why Carolyn Goodman made national news is because she has been openly critical of our governor. And I forgot the term that she used.
Insanity.
Insanity, that's right.
Shutdown is insanity.
Kind of like what I'm going through in quarantine. But yeah, she used the term insanity in regards to the Strip being shut down. So when you make a statement like that, especially when you're the mayor.
Not just the Strip, the whole city.
The whole city,
the whole
right.
state, right.
Correct, thank you. So when you make a statement like that, and you're the mayor, in this city, obviously that's going to make national news. It was a big deal. Now, it's not like she's some small mayor in some small city that nobody's ever heard of before. This is Las Vegas. As I said, we always make national news. So we wanted to get Mayor Carolyn Goodman on the show because we wanted to ask her all these questions. And listen, I have tremendous amount of respect for her and for Oscar Goodman. Oscar Goodman, I consider him a personal friend. He sang happy birthday to me on the show, last week. I really like Oscar a lot. I'll be honest with you. I don't know Carolyn Goodman as well as I know Oscar. But I think Carolyn is a good person. I think she's a nice person. I like the Goodmans. So we had a chance to catch up with the mayor of Las Vegas, Carolyn Goodman. We asked her all the relevant questions, and we wanted to play it for you and have you take a listen to this. This is Mayor Carolyn Goodman right here on the Vegas Take. Mayor Goodman, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
I'm fine, and I love my husband. I hope you had a good time with him. He's just hysterical and kept my life happy and wonderful.
Yeah, Oscar certainly is the best. And, he said beef, booze, and broads dinner on him next time. Once this is all over with.
He did say that.
So, Carolyn, I appreciate – he did say that. Carolyn,